239 BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
44-yard attempt from the right hash. Snap by Ferguson, hold by Martin, kick by Bass is on the way, and it is no good. No good, wide to the right, and that'll do it.
This is a heartbreaker in Orchard Park here, Chris, and this one stings. This is back-to-back years in the divisional round. You lose this game at home.
Losing's never fun.
Didn't play the way we needed to, I thought.
Mike Danger.
Is this as far as this coach can take this team? And I think it's a fair question to ask.
Gene Battaglia.
What is it going to take for the Buffalo Bills to get beyond this point? And the excuse is built in. You're down to linebackers 5 and 6. That's going to be the problem. These issues. McDermott, Josh Allen.
4th and 5th corners.
Tyler Bass, I hope he's not on the roster next year.
There's no hump to get over. There's no hill to get over. You guys got to play well on the day that you play.
So it'll be the Chiefs and the Ravens in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game.
I still do not believe in Baltimore. And I think the Chiefs are not that good either.
Then it's Lions, Niners in Santa Clara for the NFC title.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. And we're glad you've made us part of your routine, part of your afternoon. A somber day. I'm wearing my black today, Gino. Football season has ended in Western New York. The Buffalo Bills season has ended at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs again. And we're here to talk about it this afternoon. We're here to talk you through whatever you might be going through.
11th place to 2nd seed, and you figured, wow, this is meant to be. They're the hot team in the playoffs. But again, no one cares when you're right. But all the things we identified last week, whether it was the linebackers, just the injuries in general, tendency for Josh Allen to play hero ball. Oh, the special teams have been really, really weak. And yeah, there's this guy, Sean McDermott. And there's probably some other reasons too I'm missing here.
Well, I've got I've been thinking a lot about not just the way the game ended, but what's next, what this season looked like, what it might look like next season. I've got a lot of thoughts to share. I actually identified 10 individual thoughts, and I'd like to share them if I may at some point this afternoon.
Yeah, let's set up the show here today.
All right. Well, we will talk to a guy that was doing the Lord's work after the game, and Nate Gary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network.
So I'm driving back, and I'm listening to the last segment, all right? And, okay. The guy was serious because the topic came up. Wow, you're down to Tyler Matakevich. This isn't good. And Danger, that is not the top reason why they lost, but I digress. The caller had a suggestion. Nate, you played high school football. I played high school football. All these guys played both directions. Why didn't they play Josh Allen at middle linebacker?
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's why he said Lawrence work. I'm like, Nate just paused. Silence. Silence for what seemed like a minute, which that's the only way you can answer that.
Right.
You're like, what are we doing?
You cannot be serious. Well, we'll talk to Nate. He'll be joining us. We'll get his thoughts here coming up right around 4:25 this afternoon. Later this hour, we're joined by 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana. I know he has plenty of thoughts on what we saw yesterday. He and I think both, Dan Fates, we all kind of saw this going differently for the Buffalo Bills. You know, there's that thought in the back of your head going into the game. Yeah, the Chiefs could absolutely do what the Chiefs always do to the Buffalo Bills, but there was something special about that run that they were on here. The fact that they were kind of picking each other up, that you had contributions down the stretch from even the special teams unit in the Miami game, and you had the injuries, but guys stepped up. And in the end, it wasn't enough. And 13 Wham Sports Director Mike Catalana will stop by with his thoughts here in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, not just what we saw yesterday, but it's the first day we look ahead. I wasn't ready to talk about next season, what moves need to be made, but here we are, Danger. So, and look, you have thoughts too. Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can reach us on Elon's Twitter, on X, on our handle, The Fan Rochester.
Yeah, would love to hear from you today. 866-4326. I'm just going to start sprinkling them in, Gino. I mean, these are the thoughts that were kind of rattling around in my brain as I was watching the game, as the game ended, as I was up late last night, just kind of reflecting on the entirety of this season's work for the Buffalo Bills. Where they are, where they could head, what we witnessed, what does it look like tomorrow? The first point from my first takeaway, my first observation, and I've said this before. I think I said it after the 2022 season. The return on investment on the Bills' defensive line might be the worst that the league has ever seen. The league, not just the Bills, the league has ever seen. When you evaluate all the investments made in the Bills' front four, their production cannot be viewed as anything but a failure. At times, you saw some flashes, right? And Epineza batted ball here, and Oliver pressure there. The most effective pass rusher, Leonard Floyd, he's a free agent. He's not going to be here next year. He's gone. Ed Oliver, for as much as he improved this season, his best season as a pro, he still needs to be better. Greg Rousseau needs to be better. Von Miller is a hologram. Knowing the importance that Sean McDermott's defense places on getting pressure with the front four, I'm telling you, prepare yourself for even more of an investment here. And let's hope that they have more hits, guys like Floyd, than they have misses.
So I had to take last week, Danger, because, and we'll get to the wide receivers, right? Like that's an issue, right? And fans are going to say first round wide receiver, and I will listen to that. If the board falls the right way, absolutely. And I'll get to this a little later. You're going to need a safety, maybe two. But I want people to brace for the fact that they may go defensive line again, because we're talking about some of these investments. Some of these investments are going to walk right out the door. Daquan Jones, really good player, right? Free agent.
Yeah.
AJ Epineza, finally putting it together. Free agent. Yeah. Leonard Floyd, today, talking to people, I don't fault him for saying this. In fact, I'll give him credit saying, yeah, I'll follow the money. So, yeah, he's at the end.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing it up. I mean, look, one of my takeaways is you look ahead to April here. I can't help but think what the Bills should do versus what I think they will do, right? You can look at a team like Green Bay as an example, and they know that Jordan Love is going to be their quarterback for a long time. Now, for a team that never invested for weapons in Aaron Rodgers, they've invested for Love. They've taken 4 wide receivers and 3 tight ends in the first 4 rounds of the draft since 2020. The Bills have taken 1 wide receiver and 2 tight ends in the first 4 rounds of the draft since 2018. They should invest in weapons for their quarterback, the player that they have the most riding on. What I think they'll actually do is what we're talking about, more on the defense. That's what the head coach has the most riding on.
Here's my biggest takeaway from last night. And for all the headlines, for everybody getting on Tyler Bass, and look, that's an issue. I'm not going to say it wasn't. That's not the real issue, folks. 142 remaining. He makes the kick. What happens next? Danger. They didn't learn anything from 13 seconds. Or maybe number 17 hasn't learned anything from 13 seconds. Heck, our nemesis, Tom Brady, went on the podcast, his own, and told, hey, Josh, you got to take the stuff underneath. Okay, so let's say on second down, he finds Shakir. Or maybe on third down and 9, he finds somebody in the end zone. Then what? The game was going back and forth, and you really hadn't stopped the Chiefs all night. That's when the head coach really needs to be in Josh's ear. And what we said, day one, when I said day one, this season's going to come down to number 17. And he was making athletic plays last night. The throw to Shakir, some of the runs. He does things that nobody in this league can do. But until he masters the mental side of the ball, you can tell me about wide receivers and defensive line and linebacker. Until he figures that out, we're going to be stuck. So to me, no, it's not about the kicker. He makes the kick, and then, my gosh, Patrick Mahomes has 143 to get in the field goal range. Stop. Oh, and well, they could have left the Bills some time. They're not leaving the Bills any time on the clock. That was there last night.
Yeah, the field goal felt like it would have been a death sentence. How would you like us to rip your heart? Would you like me to use my bare hands or a knife? That was what you have. We can either score and have the Chiefs rip out you score too soon and have the Chiefs rip out your heart that way, or make that kick and we'll rip your heart out another way. And you mentioned Josh Allen. I mean, the observation. He's become now the player who makes everyone around him better. Josh Allen makes Diggs better. He makes Kincaid better. He makes Cook better. And there are plenty of flaws in the Bills' skill position players. Allen's a great deodorant. Even if this team never reaches his ultimate goal, we'll have Josh Allen providing us with our money's worth. And I don't know that there's a more fun-to-watch quarterback in the league. All that said, Gene, what you're saying rings true to me as well. He still struggles with making the right decision. Make the right decision. It single-handedly costs this team games. As good as he is, for as much talent and athleticism as he has, for as much fun as he is to watch, and for as much as we love him, what's between his ears prevents him from being truly elite. You could say, oh, he's elite. He's a good quarterback in the NFL. He's a good starting quarterback. You have a franchise quarterback. He's not elite until he starts winning championships. He's not elite. He's never going to be, until he gets it straight between his ears, he's never going to be a Manning, a Brady, a Mahomes. You've got to get what's going. The decisions have to be better. And we saw it creep up through the course of the regular season. Hey, in the postseason this year, no turnovers. That's great. But the decision-making still wasn't there, and it was evident with 2 minutes left to go in the game. When you know you've got a milk clock, when you know you've got them on their heels going for the death blow instead of taking what they gave you.
McDermott preached complimentary football all season, then his team didn't do it the only time it really mattered. All right, people want to talk. 866-4326. I've got other thoughts.
I have plenty.
Including on that stupid fake punt.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I know it's going to get brought up.
I'll get brought up.
Yeah.
I love the headline from the New York Post today calling it a failed Disney attempt.
I mean, is that what it is? Is it the drama major and Sean McDermott coming out on the field? I mean, it would have been a hell of a story if Hamlin were to be the one to. But
he's the last guy on the team I would want to run that.
If you really want that first down, go for it, man.
Kevin, who would you rather? And I'll give Matt Beauvais.
You have Josh Allen.
I will give Matt Beauvais credit. Last night, the post-game question gets asked. McDermott, well, we wanted a spark. Okay. Then why not keep Josh Allen on the field on 4th and 5?
Yeah.
Chris in Rochester. Hi, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Hey, guys. I'm licking the wounds like every Bills fan is, but man, it was tough watching last night. I mean, I applaud McDermott. I mean, he's done a lot with what we've had. And, I mean, we started out with a spectacular defense per the roster, but we've had our bumps and bruises, and it's been tough to watch. But, I mean, he's brought the best out of a lot of players. But, I don't know, it's tough to imagine not having them. But then on the other hand, it's like, man, something's got to give. And I'm not really putting it on McDermott. I mean, I think, like Danger said, it's a lot on Josh Allen, but my gosh.
Well, that's only because I haven't had a chance to talk about Sean McDermott yet, but I do have some thoughts on Sean McDermott.
Man. Yeah, it's just that whole punt, and then just to get the second chance with the fumble in the end zone, it was like, oh man, here we got the ball back. You know, we're safe maybe, and then all of a sudden nothing could go right after that.
Chris, I don't mean to interrupt. Can you imagine if like that fumble didn't happen?
It was an absolute gift.
Oh my gosh.
It was an absolute gift from the football gods. It was just handed to them. Absolutely out of nowhere, a gift from the football gods. That doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen. What was that? That was a gift. You know, if the Bills win that game, Kansas City has a legitimate gripe. Like a legit gripe that the NFL doesn't want us to win anymore. The officials blew a call. That was a gift.
It looked like he was down. I was stunned they overturned that.
Now, I didn't bring up McDermott yet, but since you brought it up, I said this after the Denver loss, and I'll repeat it today.
Thanks for the call, Chris.
Appreciate you, Chris. Sean McDermott is only going to take a team so far. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he needs to lose his job. It's not happening. That's a waste of resources. That's burn calories I don't need to burn, right? I don't think that's happening. I'm not going to waste my breath. We collectively just have to be at peace with knowing that this team will be competitive. This team will contend for division titles, but this team won't get home. His defenses will bend, not always break, and if you're okay with that, Sean McDermott will be in Buffalo for a long time. He showed us this year that he can handle defensive play calling duties. There were moments this year where Sean McDermott coached his ass off, but he wasn't able to show us that he could do the defensive play calling duties on top of being the team's head coach. I hope he brings in some help. I really do. I don't think he will. But
he can't. You have to, because there's guys that are in waiting, like your Babbages, your Washingtons, that are thinking, hey, I'm the next in line here. And then you're kind of cleaning house.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not a bad thing. You're almost teeing up our next caller. Jason in Greece. Again, our number, 866-4326. Hey, Jason.
How you doing, boys? How you feeling today? Any better than me?
Tired.
Yeah. Well, going back to Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, I think you guys hit the nail right on the head. He's starting to make everybody around him better, and he's the most important commodity we have. And I hope Brandon Beane takes a long, hard look. We don't have to scapegoat Sean McDermott. He doesn't have to be a bad coach on the way out or bad blood. He doesn't have to lose the locker room. But maybe the best thing for our most important commodity is seeing what a more confident offensive coach or head coach with a better offensive coordinator and system can do for Josh Allen. If I've seen Kyle Shanahan take Matt Ryan into an MVP, look what Brock Purdy's doing. Look what Jalen Hurts became under Shane Steichen. Maybe Josh Allen, this what we need from him to see it better, to be better. Maybe going forward as he gets older, maybe we need to protect him with better coaching. And it doesn't have to mean Sean McDermott's terrible on the way out or fired, or maybe it's just what we need.
Yeah, Jason, good call. And the analogy I've read, like Tony Dungy he's a Hall of Fame coach. He couldn't win in Tampa. He won elsewhere. Like, you needed somebody else to come in. By the way, it's not happening, folks. The Bills is putting out a tweet. Sean McDermott tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Every team has to do their year end. Bills aren't wasting any time. So Brandon Beane tomorrow at noon.
Okay.
Which, that always gives you a nugget or two. Brandon Beane likes to get this out of the way because he wants to be in Mobile next week.
Well, I can say this about Brandon Beane. This is the off season where he can show the league exactly what he's made of, because you have your quarterback, and as long as you have Allen, the window to win is there. You're going to have to turn this roster over. There will be turnover going into next season. Can he build a championship roster? Will he need to sacrifice next season in order to turn over the roster completely and better position the team for an extended future? The names that hit free agency this offseason, this is going to kick the Bills' ass this offseason. Gabe Davis, Micah Hyde, Leonard Floyd, Tyrell Dodson, Dane Jackson, A.J. Epineza, Taylor Rapp, Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, Linval Joseph, Shaq Lawson, Trent Sherfield, David Edwards, Latavius Murray, Ty Johnson, Damian Harris, Cam Lewis, Kyle Allen. You're $49 million over the cap. Maybe the team can ask fans for help shoveling out from this mountain of a mess that they have here heading into the offseason. $20 an hour? Sound good?
They'll be okay with the cap. That just means, like, that's what you're going to hear from Brandon Beane. If I had to predict what Brandon Beane, guys, we're not going to make the big splash play. It's not a very good Brandon Beane impression, but like they're not going to go out and with a big free agent signing. One thing we missed on Danger. We said, the Bills are fine without Gabe Davis.
I don't know that Gabe Davis makes those catches, though, man. I mean, you want to believe that he would, but Gabe Davis has had the drops as well. I mean, look, the wide receivers yesterday. All right, this is going to hurt because I think I've been his biggest cheerleader from the moment he got to Buffalo. The moment we started to see Diggs do Diggs things in Buffalo. Diggs is now good, not great. And as recently as week 4 of this season, the Miami game, I could argue that Diggs was the best player on the team. I can't do it anymore. The separation isn't there, and we all have to wonder what could have been if he just hauls in that bomb from Josh late last night.
Timeout on that. Nothing. Because that was the drive, actually. Like, they would have scored quicker. So, to me, they still moved it to that point on that drive. But go on.
You're stuck with Diggs, and you need to bring in someone. He's your number one again next season, but he shouldn't be your true number one because he's no longer Diggs.
I am going to... this is my theory. I don't know anything, but he's tapping out constantly. I think he was hurt all year. I think that he was hot. I don't, could have been a sports hernia, could have been something else. He wasn't himself, Danger. And to see him still kind of get the team up emotionally, anybody that's he wants out of here, I don't see that. I see a guy who is just completely banged up and was a shell of himself. And could the Buffalo Bills, if my theory is true, get in trouble for that? Sure.
Yeah, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know if or how much he was actually hurt this season.
But Brandon Beane deserves some blame here, too, because Trent Sherfield ain't it. Like, that's no. Like, you read those free agents and some will hurt out the door. That's not one of them. Like, the Bills would be served to, turn over the bottom end here of the wide receiving roster. And Shakir, hey, look, he was a really, really nice player down the stretch for this team. I didn't think he would develop the way he did. That's positive. You have something. If you get a healthy Diggs and Kincaid and Shakir next year, but my gosh, you need more than that. Like Hardy and Sherfield were misses this year. I'm sorry.
Let's get to Mike Catalana, 13WM Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com. We know he has a lot of thoughts, not just on last night's game, but what's next for the Buffalo Bills as the offseason begins. We'll hear from Brandon Beane tomorrow, as you just mentioned, Gino. Looking forward to that. And we'll look forward to Catalana's takes here on the Bills ending their season last night in Orchard Park, falling to the Kansas City Chiefs, who advance to the AFC Championship game. I don't know if you knew this, their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game.
Do I have to watch?
I'm going to drink heavily.
I am for Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, come on. Dan Campbell, Super Bowl.
Yeah. Mike Catalana next. Your phone calls if you want to join us. Jump on in, 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Vitaly. Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Sullen day in Buffalo, locker clean-out day. One of those players that's soon to be a free agent, wide receiver Gabe Davis.
Yeah, of course, always open to coming back. I mean, this is my first place I've been the past 4 years that, I love Buffalo, love everything about it. So, but again, I feel like definitely got to go to March and see, also the other options as well. I feel like that's a business side of it, and I got to take advantage of it.
So where do the Bills go from here? Sean McDermott to address reporters tomorrow morning one last time at 11 a.m. Brandon Beane addressing the media following up at noon. 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Mike Catalana joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Detroit Lions, they're headed to the NFC Championship game. They bring in a familiar name, tight end Zach Ertz. Sabres hit the road for California, team in Anaheim tomorrow night. Syracuse basketball hosting NC State tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
If you've always believed, hopefully we've given you a reason to believe just a little bit more. From where we were at, from where we started, from where we hit a low, and from how we finished, hopefully you're still believing, because we believe in you guys as much as y'all believe in us. And the way that y'all came like to that stadium yesterday, it was amazing. So it's Bills Mafia here, so love you guys.
That's Deion Dawkins. Final message to the fans. Tomorrow we hear from Sean McDermott. Tomorrow we hear from Brandon Beane. Right now we hear from 13 Wham Sports Director and BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana. Look, all the platitudes and everything, that's just another one that stings, Mike. And last night, the team, as the tension kind of mounted through the course of the game, I know how I felt, and I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way. As the tension mounts, you just get a feeling they're not going to close this game out.
Yeah, I got a feeling that things were breaking their way in the game. I mean, let's be honest, they got a few pretty big breaks.
Gifts.
They got the fumble overturned, for the touchback. Then when they eventually got the ball back, Josh's fumble, Spencer Brown making an incredible play to recover it. They converted a fourth down, and it started to look like maybe they were going to get it done here. And, then they flamed out. And, yes, there was the possibility of even tying the game. Who knows what happens at that point. It didn't look great with the way things were going for the defense. But, yeah, you're right, because they have put themselves in this spot before. And when you're the Chiefs, you seem to always come through in those. And I do think it gives a team a sense of calm. But they certainly had their opportunities at the end. You got the ball in Josh Allen's hands. You're driving down the field, and then it falls apart, and then the missed field goal just was the capper.
Mike, okay, so Bass, he's getting criticism, and look, you got to do your job. He makes that field goal, they still lose this game, correct?
Yeah, I don't buy that narrative, though. Listen, yes, that could happen. You score a touchdown, you could lose the game. The last two times they've scored late against the Chiefs, they've won the game. And the defense was getting shredded. They did actually make a couple of stops late. I don't know if they would have stopped him again. But what are you going to do there? I mean, do you really think you're going to go for it there? You could. If it was 4th and 1 or 2, maybe you would go for it. Maybe if they went shorter on those other plays, you would have decided to go for it. It's a ballsy play with a field goal to tie the game and extend the game to go for it. But come on, your kicker, it's 44 yards. I know it's windy, but you kick in Buffalo, you got to make it. And we had talked all week. I thought there was a kicking problem. I mean, he was bad last week. He got a kick blocked and then shanked another one. You got your punter who has been hurt and toughed it out, but I'm sure that might have caused some issues this week. I guess you're right. Like I said, you could have kicked the field goal and then lost it right there at the end. But it would have at least been the opportunity to get back on the field, and you never know what happens. But, yeah, you wanted the touchdown, which is why I have zero problem with Allen going to Shakir on that play. It's the way it's designed. That play is not designed to go to Diggs. He would have been short of the first down. Allen got pressured. He threw the ball there, and he underthrew it because he got pressure on the left-hand side. But that's what you want to do. Get the touchdown, and to your point, get the lead by 4 points, and then see if your defense can keep them out of the end zone.
Mike, so much of that Sean McDermott defense, success on that Sean McDermott defense is predicated by getting pressure with your front four, your defensive line. The return on investment of that defensive line might be the worst the league has ever seen. When you kind of look and compare what they've done for that defensive line versus other teams around the NFL through the course of time, I'm trying to find one where you're like, yeah, that return on investment isn't as good as what even just Von Miller alone. I mean, I know he was better yesterday, but ending the season 0 sacks. Ed Oliver having his best season, I feel like he still needs better. These guys were invisible yesterday.
I'm with you on yesterday. I thought Oliver had a fantastic season.
Yes.
I think Rousseau's a really good player. I think Von Miller was a good signing until he became a horrible signing. I mean, last year he was really good, but you're giving a lot of money to a guy with a little bit of mileage on him. Then he gets hurt, and he was obviously bad, and then he had his off-the-field issues. The rest of it, they've used money, and it just hasn't worked. The good news is Ed's back under contract and Rousseau's back under contract, and that money, except for Von Miller, which is an albatross, is hanging over them. But I'm with you on that. And listen, Sean McDermott gets a ton of criticism, and he deserves it. I mean, his team can't get past it. But what you're talking about right there is Brandon Beane. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabe Davis, being a guy they've counted on for the last few years, is on Brandon Beane. Like, not 100% because it comes to coaching and schemes and all those things that go with it. But, you know, this roster is not great. It is very good. It is talented. But you're right. They put a ton of resources on the D-line and limited amount for the weapons for Josh Allen. So I think that comes back to bite them a lot, too, because you should have definitely gotten more out of your defensive line than you got last night.
Yeah, Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus, our guest here in the Sports Bar. What happened to Diggs the second half of the season? Mike, can you entertain the theory that he was hurt more than anyone would lead on to?
I don't know if he was hurt. Honestly, I think he runs fine. I mean, let's be honest. The one thing is not last night, because that was a beautiful pass, and Diggs has to make that catch. But we've seen him running free, and Josh has missed him, 3 times in the last 5 weeks, I think it is. Deep balls that should have been deep catches or even touchdowns. He can still run. Does he get worn down a little bit? Maybe. That might be it, because he just doesn't look the same. Same thing happened last year in the second half of the year. Different coordinator, same kind of results in that way. He's your number one guy, right? And he has been that, and you're paying him that way. But honestly, I'm saying if it's not the case and he can get taken out of games by physical corners, by number one corners, then he's not really a number one guy anymore, right? Because, you know, other guys make plays. I mean, you know, you see CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase or Jefferson make plays against number one corners. So it's an issue. But look, Beane hasn't drafted a wide receiver higher than the 4th round since Allen's been there. And like I said, the Gabe Davis thing, they depended on him a lot. And in this case, obviously he didn't play. But let's be honest, you know, his last 2 years have been a big disappointment out of him, and they were counting on him, and he did not come through.
Mike, I want to highlight a bright spot. Because throughout the course of the season, I don't think we ever once had a complaint about the Bills' offensive line. And maybe some of that is Josh Allen making them look better than they are, but they were healthy all season. And it looks like these are guys that are back next year as well. You've got that continuity, assuming that Mitch Morse is true to his word and does come back for the final year of his contract there. I mean, would anybody blame him if he said at age 32 in April, yeah, too many concussions, maybe need to reevaluate. But the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills is at least something there, a foundation on the offensive side of the ball in the trenches.
No question. I think Beane did a really good job this offseason, brought in, I mean, look at what they got out of Torrance. He played every snap. McGovern was really good there. I thought Dion had a great year. Like, that is a nice building block to go into next year. Hey, listen, you talk about windows and all this stuff. Yes, there's windows. When you have an offensive line that can play and you have Josh Allen at quarterback, you can do some things, right? Their roster needs a lot. But that's not a bad place to start. You can make an argument. It's 2 very important parts of your team, O-line and quarterback, and they have both of those things. But again, I think this off season is going to be a bit of a shift. They've kept a lot of veterans. There's a lot of guys that have been back. I think there's going to be I'll just use the word substantial overhaul in the roster with guys that have been around for a while.
Particularly special teams, Mike, is yes. They did have the one play down in Miami, and I'm looking at the cap figure for Tyler Bass, and I don't know if he's going anywhere necessarily, but some of these role players like Tyler Matakevich, and for that matter, the Smiley kind of survived till next season, in your opinion, the special teams coordinator.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough. I thought the special teams were not good for most of the year. Lots of penalties, lots of guys that have been around, the guys like Saran Neal, who's been around for a while, but he's not really able to be used. They used him a little bit last night because they needed some help to try to do something with Kelsey. But, these are guys supposed to be your core special teamers, and maybe it's on scheme or plan or whatever it is. I just didn't think the special teams were very good. And with the kicker and Martin was really good. His injury hurt because he got named Player of the Month. How often does a punter get named Player of the Month? But he did. And Bass, I don't know what happened. He just fell off the table here. It was like he went from being very reliable to something was wrong. But I would say there's a possibility there's a change in the coaching staff at special teams. I could see it happening just because there was thought of it happening earlier, but that's when they moved on from Dorsey. And so they did not make a move, but I can see that being an off-season move.
Well, it sure seems that Joe Brady has got the gig that he'll be the offensive coordinator. Get a little endorsement today from Josh Allen and others. By this time next year, is Joe Brady interviewing for more head coaching jobs?
Well, that would mean he's had another good year. Listen, I think he's connected with Josh. I think for him, it's cool to get head coaching. I can't imagine any team, nothing against him personally, I can't imagine any team is ready to hire Joe Brady as your head coach at the moment. He's just getting himself settled in after half a season as the coordinator with the Bills after a bad experience before that as an OC. He needs another year. I don't see him as a legitimate head coaching candidate for anybody. But yes, next year, maybe he would. Josh's comfort level with him is good. And listen, last night, part of the reason they ran the ball so much was to try to keep Mahomes on the sidelines, for God's sakes. They were walking up and down the field. They split their between runs and passes, I think, was just about even last night. The second half was not great. I thought he had a great rhythm in the first half. I thought they had energy. I thought they were really moving the ball. Big thing you got to know how to do is adjust. And I think Spagnuolo did, and I did not think Brady did enough. I just don't think they ever found anything in that second half. So, it's going up against a veteran guy who's won a lot of games as a coordinator. And, I think certainly Kansas City got the better of him in that one.
Now, does Kansas City get theirs coming up this week, Mike? Because I'm just rationalizing here. The Bills say they survived that last week. I don't know. Baltimore going in there, that's a tall order for any team.
Yeah, I thought the Bills would have had a really good shot at the Ravens. I really did. As good as they are on defense, I would think. I still don't. I want Lamar to win so badly in this game. The Chiefs are great. I'm just so sick of seeing them, but I'm really concerned about that to see. Last week was great for them. Houston was obviously a nice story, but overmatched, and I'd love to see it. But I think either one of these teams with Allen or Mahomes could go in there and win. You don't have to score 30, but you could have beaten them. And that's my concern for this week. I guess for Bills fans, you want to see Baltimore win, right? You just can't take seeing Kansas City back in another Super Bowl. But I'm concerned only because, when you just do that matchup, it's Lamar against Mahomes, and Mahomes, the guy just finds a way to win, doesn't he?
Yeah. We can start discussing now what they might do here come April with the draft, Mike, what they should do versus what you think they might do. You mentioned earlier that they haven't really invested any pieces for Josh Allen. They've taken one wide receiver and two tight ends in the first 4 rounds since Josh Allen has been their quarterback. what you think they should do is invest in weapons for their most important player on the team. What they probably will do is invest more on defense. What direction do you think they go? What do you think they should do versus what they will do?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would tell you this. Coming into next year, first of all, you're going to need to invest in, I hate to say it, but D-line, because it's out of numbers. Like, you bring some of those guys back. I don't know, Epinesa, again, in a rotation role, he's a good player. But they're going to need to do that. They should be in good shape at linebacker. I mean, they get Milano and Bernard back next year was a great combination. I think they definitely need to look at a safety. There's no question. They need a young safety. They need to find that next guy to pair with whoever's still there, because I really believe Micah Hyde's going to retire. And I don't know about Jordan Poyer's got a year left. I think one of them with a young safety would be a good combination. Corner is interesting. I think Trey White's going to be gone. I think it's you do have Benford. You're going to probably need to, maybe you got Douglas, but you're probably going to draft another corner at some point. Teams do that all the time. But I would get a wide receiver early. I don't know. I see people take, first 2 rounds and all that. I don't see him doing that, but I would say a wide receiver should be a consideration in the first day, and no question on the second day. Like if you don't get one, if you decide to go, say, safety late in the first round, and then you go wide receiver in the second round, because they need speed. They need somebody on the other side of Diggs, and unless they want to make a move on Diggs, it's funny. Somebody asked me about Diggs, and I was like, number one, it does hurt you in the cap. When we talk about the cap not being real, it's real when you're taking on the dead cap money. But honestly, I was thinking about it. If you trade Diggs, your return is not that great.
What, maybe a 4th round?
That's what I'm saying is look at what wide receivers get. So do you really want to make that move? Like, you get him some speed on the other side. I don't know. Obviously, he's still a talented player, but you're already taking the heat for the cap hit. And I don't think he's, you hear all the time he's pushing to go somewhere. People would say that. He hasn't certainly said that. Maybe that changes this offseason. I don't know. But it's not a good roster building move at the moment to move Diggs, because you're not getting a lot for him. That's just the way the NFL works. But they need young speed at wide receiver. There's no question in my mind, and they got to find it. So I'd say, guys, yes, first round, or definitely looking in the second or the third. You got to get a guy in here who can really contribute. And listen, and Shakir, I love Shakir. I think he's going to build up to be a really good player. And Kincaid is a very good pass catcher. So you do have good players there, but you need speed. They don't have speed at wide receiver.
Mike, you mentioned how there's going to be some changes in the roster, and I agree with you on that. Mm-hmm. And we're wondering to what degree, but do the Bills just try to get by, do some renegotiations with Josh Allen, whatever, when they're managing the cap, or does Brandon Beane actually look at this, bite the bullet maybe a little bit, and try to build from 2 years from now? How do you think, what is next for the Bills? Is it, hey, we're going back all in 2024? You know what? We got to be prudent here, and try to win on the back end of Josh Allen's career.
Yeah, I don't think there's any, pass off a year and then go to the next one. I think you can do a little bit of both. They've never been he always talks about this, and we're going to talk to him tomorrow about the all-in idea. You make some moves, but you still have Josh Allen and a lot of talent. Even if you make roster moves, you're going to be in the mix. They will be. And some of the moves they could make would be then relying on younger players. But sometimes that can really work for you. I mean, we just saw a Green Bay Packers team play with a bunch of 24-year-olds, and they should be playing in the NFC Championship. You can still get things done. Everybody doesn't have to be a veteran, and maybe they need an infusion of some, look at what some of these younger guys have already done for them. So I don't ever see them with Josh Allen in the smack middle of his prime, almost taking a year off. I don't see any of that happening. If they could get out of the Von Miller thing, and look, who knows what will happen, but it would help. if he got, I got to say, if he got suspended, it would help them a great deal. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I still think they can restructure Josh. If Diggs is going to be here for another year or two, they could restructure him. They could get rid of Von Miller and bite the bullet on it and still save some immediate cap room, and then just pay for it down the line, and then go after some young players and see what you can do to supplement what you have.
Evaluating the head coach, Mike, in Buffalo feels like a fruitless exercise, just burn calories, because we know that Sean McDermott isn't going anywhere. But there are plenty of teams in the NFL that, if you look at their situation, their current coaching situation, and you have the kind of free agent coaches that you have this offseason, they should be evaluating. How do you think these dominoes fall? Where do you think Belichick, Vrabel, Harbaugh, where do you think these guys land? And could we see some of these guys kind of, could we see them in our future here in Buffalo?
I don't see any of those guys in Buffalo. Not for this year.
I should say on the other sideline, I guess is what I'm saying. There's not going to be any changes in the East, but as we look ahead to next year, are we going to see some of these guys on opposing sidelines?
It's kind of wild, isn't it? Like, Atlanta seems to have interviewed everybody. Did you guys interview with the Falcons yet? Have they talked to you?
No, tomorrow at 2:45, right before the show.
Yeah. The Chargers have interviewed everybody. It's like, I mean, it's pretty wild. They're all casting this big net of, it's funny when you interview like Joe Brady and Bill Belichick and Harbaugh and Vrabel in Atlanta. I mean, it's like, okay, we want to talk to everybody. It feels funny, but it just kind of oddly, I think Belichick's going to end up in Atlanta. The Bills don't play Atlanta next year, so that one seems weird. But look, he wants his 15 wins. Look, if he could compete, could he make the playoffs next year? Yeah, but I could see him there. I don't know about you guys. Feels like Harbaugh to the Chargers makes sense to me. I don't know, just felt like it. Vrabel is a really good coach. I see people saying, I don't Vrabel. Yes, he is, and he does a lot sometimes with less. But you got to have a team that you talk about McDermott and like a more of a conservative approach. Right? That's Vrabel. I mean, that's the way he's played. He's played, play tough, play defense, run the ball, and that's the way he's been. So yes, I can still see that happening. But hey, I'm surprised McCarthy and Sirianni are both back. Right. Well, Sirianni I think is going to be official this week. But sometimes teams look around and go, we're going to stay with what we have at least for a little while before they make a move. But it's going to be a fascinating probably another week, and these dominoes are all going to start falling. But I still think it starts with Belichick, and it oddly does feel like Atlanta.
22 days, Mike. Pitchers and catchers. I'm ready. I hope you're ready too here. There's other things coming up here in sports.
Yeah. Do the Mets pitchers show up, or do they just automatically go on IR, on the injured list?
No. Those guys are down in Texas now, Mike. So, did you hear Maggie Gray, by the way, on her station?
Oh, he heard her.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? I mean, seriously, like it's some of the nonsense that people say. Like, yeah, Philly fans are angry. They know what the hell's going on. Like some of these other fan bases are live in la la land. But you know what I mean. Like, they know what's going on. Like they don't put up with the BS.
Listen, I like La La Land. I'm happy in La La Land, Mike.
So, do they just do Tommy John surgery when they walk in, or do they just wait for it to happen with the Mets?
They just schedule it day one. Mike, what are you and Dan and Jenna working on this week here at BuffaloPlus.com? We know we're going to hear from McDermott.
Dan and Jenna were up there. Yeah, they were up there today. They'll be posting the latest video on what the players were saying today. I'll be up there tomorrow. We'll be doing something as Bean Talks, McDermott Talks. That should be interesting. Hearing what they say. If they're, Dan's story today is Groundhog's Day because it's what it feels like for Bills fans. And, we're going to keep going with the content. Like we have a lot. We're going to be going to the Combine later. We'll start talking draft. because right now I say to everybody, it's miserable for a Bills fan because you're just sitting here, just got to try to avoid some of the stuff. But we'll be looking, at the appropriate time, we'll really be looking ahead to some of the stuff that could be happening. And, hey, Josh Allen's back, so at least you got that going for you. Oh, by the way, Danger, I saw Taylor last night. She said to say hello.
Yeah, I figured as much. Sure, me talking about her. She heard me chirping. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, she said, tell him I said hi.
Yeah,
so
that's good. Appreciate you, Mike.
Anytime, fellas.
Talk to you soon. Mike Catalana, 13 Web Sports Director. Who's that guy in Rochester that said I was a 6? Not a fan.
Oh, wait, Jason Kelsey?
Hold on. I've got my list of Franceses.
All right. Well, wait.
I've got a list. I was.
Oh, who cares?
I was in it for a second there. Just like, all right, I'm done with everything. I'm fed up with everything. You can't tell me that there's anything out there that's going to make me. Everything was pissing me off. Peppa Pig.
Oh, who cares?
Everything was pissing me off. It's getting to a point where it's just
how could Peppa Pig piss you off?
Oh, who cares?
The Pit?
Oh, who cares?
Everything. I was in a bad place. Down bad. The Weekend Princesses. I've got them. We've got some more takes on tap. I don't know if you saw these NHL All-Star jerseys. We'll get into some hot uniform talk, but these uniforms are not hot. We'll explain.
Yeah, there was a tell yesterday. If you went to the game, I thought it was very telling who they introduced at the end. You would think that it would be your quarterback and no, they didn't do that, and maybe that was a little hat tip. I'll explain why this era of Buffalo Bills football, part of it's coming to an end.
If you've been watching the NFL playoffs from the sidelines, there's still time to get in on the game with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. New customers bet this Sunday's conference championship games with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. Do you like Detroit to cover against San Francisco? What about Baltimore and Kansas City? I think we know where Bills fans are leaning there. If you want to follow my picks, go to FanDuel right now. Get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the At the Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills season comes to a crashing end as Buffalo falling to Kansas City in the divisional round. Today, locker cleanout day. Painful time for Josh Allen.
You know, this isn't something that we're going to run from. It's not something we're going to hide from. We got to take it on the chin and continue to learn and get better. And I know that it's not what people want to hear. They want to see results. We want to see results. We're just like you guys. We want to win. That's the fact. And we're going to keep fighting and keep working.
Final press conference is coming up tomorrow. Sean McDermott at 11 a.m. General Manager Brandon Beane to address reporters at noon. We'll talk to Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Detroit Lions, they're in the NFC Championship game against San Francisco. The Lions today signing tight end Zach Ertz. Sabres in California tomorrow night at Anaheim. Syracuse basketball undefeated at home. They take on NC State tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
44-yard attempt from the right hash. Snap by Ferguson, hold by Martin, kick by Bass is on the way, and it is no good. No good, wide to the right, and that'll do it.
This is a heartbreaker in Orchard Park here, Chris. And this one stings. This is back-to-back years in the divisional round. You lose this game at home.
Losing's never fun.
Didn't play the way we needed to, I thought.
Mike Danger.
Is this as far as this coach can take this team? And I think it's a fair question to ask.
Gene Battaglia.
What is it going to take for the Buffalo Bills to get beyond this point? And the excuse is built in. You're down to linebackers 5 and 6. That's going to be the problem. These issues. McDermott, Josh Allen.
4th and 5th corners.
Tyler Bass, I hope he's not on the roster next year. There's no hump to get over. There's no hill to get over. You guys got to play well on the day that you play.
So it'll be the Chiefs and the Ravens in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game.
I still do not believe in Baltimore. And I think the Chiefs are not that good either.
Then it's Lions, Niners in Santa Clara for the NFC title.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
All right, we'll check in with the mental status of Nate Geary, the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. Make sure he's doing okay. Less than 24 hours after a deluge of calls into the show. After the Bills drop another one to the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round, this time at home. You're back in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. It's a somber day. Nobody likes it when the Bills season comes to an end. And, we're going to have to, day by day, just kind of get a little bit, just like Thursday, we're going to get a little bit better.
We've been through this before.
Yep.
Get back to the same spot. One other issue last night, Danger, the offense. Yes, it was kind of nickel and diming your way down the field. But the lack of explosive plays. Do you remember there was a play where in real time I'm like, wait a second, Josh Allen's over the line of scrimmage. That's a lateral. Would you believe that play was the second most yards from scrimmage in any play for Buffalo last night?
Yeah.
That went for 16 yards.
Kansas City's defense is really good, too, by the way. Like, they've been good all season. They're good. You weren't able to get anything really going. I mean, you had something going with the run game in the first half. And I think it was Catalana last hour that said, you didn't adjust. Brady didn't adjust the way Spagnuolo adjusted.
Yeah, they kind of took that away a little bit. Chris Jones, look, he didn't really get the Josh Allen, but he had a really big bat down, which that's just as effective. From the game yesterday, though, I mean, if you were at the game, did you pick up on this? Yesterday, Mark, what could have been, probably will be, the final home game for a duo that has been as big as anything in elevating the culture of the Buffalo Bills. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Okay, they were introduced last coming out of the tunnel. Sure, maybe Poyer's back next year. Hyde is a free agent. Maybe he retires. Maybe Poyer comes back at a reduced rate. I wouldn't bank on it. They were both Doug Whaley signings, and give Wales credit where it's due. Neither's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but they both will be on the Wall of Fame someday. And as far as the Bills next year, yeah, safety is a glaring need. You got to find the right one in the draft, and it's a tough position to learn. Like, find the right one. Look at Kyle Hamilton, what he's doing in Baltimore, although the Bills would have to move up for somebody like that. But the idea that it's the next man up, Danger, I'm sorry. Who's this next man? Like Taylor Rapp, he's situational. Cam Lewis, no. DeMar Hamlin, sorry. Soriano Neal, like him, but look, you can do better. And yes, the idea of Trey White moving to safety crossed my mind, but it's hard for me to imagine he'd be ready week 1. Plus, we'd be asking him to take a massive pay cut in order to do
Trey
that.
White moving might be the inevitability. Just Trey White moving.
You would save a little more than $6 million against the cap.
It feels like a move you can't afford to not make if you're Brandon Beane. Look, I believe that for what might have been their last home game, Hyde and Poyer deserve better. I'm going to miss watching those two making plays. Their effort this season was heroic. I don't have faith that bringing either of them back on a sweetheart deal does anything more for your defense other than provide the play caller with some comfort, maybe as a mentor, because we can both agree that they kind of lost a step through the course of the year.
Like where Poyer makes that play down at the goal line, there's another play at Pacheco where he should have him wrapped up in the backfield and goes for 8 yards.
Yeah, and while we're harping on the secondary, let's not forget there's a reason why the Bills traded for Rasul Douglas at the deadline. They didn't want Dane Jackson on the field on a regular basis.
Right, and all the people that evaluate the film, what happened, that was a cover 3 on the Kelsey wide open touchdown. That was the responsibility. That's his corner of the field for Dane Jackson. That should have never, ever happened. He bit on the underneath receiver. That's an easy throw to make. Yeah,
normally sure tackler too, and just didn't have it yesterday, and you need more consistency. So that was a disappointing end of the season for Jackson, who's stepped up at a time where you needed him to step up. But again, I'm reminded, you didn't just go out and trade for a guy because you were satisfied with the play of Dane Jackson. You knew he was a liability, and it showed up at the worst possible time. I don't even know. I mean, I know it's in the public domain. I don't even know if this is worthy of the music, but we're doing it anyways because it's in the public domain. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
It's funny. Like, I got to tell you something there.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm not going to forget it. And we got to get into some hot uniform talk here, even though these uniforms are anything but. I saw the preview of the NHL's All-Star Game sweaters across my feed this weekend. Now, if we're going to engage in hot uniform talk, we should also call out the uniforms that missed the mark entirely. And if I'm not mistaken, these were designed by Justin Bieber. First mistake. I can only look at them and see I'm not even joking about that. I can only look at them and see a wide variety of Rockstar Energy drink cans, maybe the same colors you find when trying to select which flavor bag of Doritos you're going to buy. For a league so rich with history, you just have no idea why you can't tap into some of the looks of the past. These, Gino, if you've seen them, they're hideous. They have no redeeming value. I feel bad for the players who have the honor, huge exaggerated air quotes, honor of wearing them. These are an embarrassment.
Yeah, we love hockey, not so much the NHL. Okay, so if we're criticizing the NHL, please understand. If you're a hockey fan, you understand what we're saying. Okay, so with that, okay, I hate to kind of bring this up to football fan. There's 3 games left. That's it. And 3 games over 3 weekends, in fact. Like, we have the bye weekend coming up. So the NHL, in its infinite wisdom, here's what I would have done. I would have scheduled wall-to-wall hockey. Hey, football's not on. Welcome back. Come on in. We've got the Rangers taking on the Devils. We got all these games that you could, and you would start 11 in the morning, you go tonight. But no, they're going to give you crappy all-star game. Nobody likes this danger. It's just for people that, I don't know, corporate sponsors, whatever. Who likes the NHL all-star game?
When you see these sweaters, you're going to throw up. They're hideous. You're going to throw up. Just embarrassing. Oh, we've got an idea. Let's collaborate with Justin Bieber.
Who was the player we had from the Kraken where, like, we had this sound like, the hidden camera in the coach's office.
Yeah.
Hey, so what you got playing on this weekend? Well, I'm going on vacation. You're going to the All-Star game. Oh. Great.
Yeah.
There goes my vacation.
I guess I didn't need to go on vacation. I'll What an honor. Thanks.
All it takes is for one person to ruin it for everybody. This is a piece of video. A lot of people are talking about it. A couple of my favorite memories in college, Denver, storming the court. Big win, buzzer beater, run on the court, celebrate. But the SEC, I'm sure, because of their lawyers, they levy these big fines. And now this. There's a guy at Ohio State who trucks Caitlin Clark yesterday. He doesn't even say I'm sorry, barely looks around. Here's where I come down on this. Storm the court. Storm the field. Have fun. But if you lay out a player like this, then that's a you problem. And for everybody that's upset about this, when have we ever stormed anything in women's sports?
I actually thought it was reversed. I thought it was Caitlin Clark trucking the fan.
No.
Kind of looked like it.
No.
Kind of looked like she ran him over.
She's getting accused of flopping here.
Oh, she's flopping with the fan? What's going on? You know what this is. For me, this is a gigantic Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
Oh.
Weekend Francesa time.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Weekend Francesa time. What is a Francesa? If you're new to the show, Mike Francesa, the GOAT. One of the OG sports talk personality from WFAN. This audio was born in 2018 when Mike Francesa learned of the passing of Stan Lee.
Eddie in Hoboken. What's up, Eddie?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's happening?
Hey, Mike, Stan Lee died today. Did you ever meet the guy? What do you think of him?
Stan Lee?
Yeah, Stan Lee.
I don't know who he
Stan
is.
Lee?
Don't know who he is, no.
Jesus.
Who is he? Who is he? Who is Stan Lee? He was one of the creators of Marvel Comics. Oh, who cares? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a comic book guy. Is that who he is, Stan Lee? The guy who created Spider-Man. That was his book. Created Spider-Man? Sorry. I never was a comic book reader as a kid. I apologize. Never.
Never.
I think Eddie in Hoboken, though. I think it's underrated, though.
No, it's the best. It's the absolute best. And look, I was in a bad place yesterday, like a lot of you were. So some of these are the things that I'm blissfully ignorant on, just completely over. I'm just over all of it. Hence, they are Francesas.
Oh, who cares?
Some music, please, and we'll get into it. And we will start with CJ Stroud.
Oh, who cares?
Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, who cares?
Wrong one. That's a 15-yard penalty on me. Christian McCaffrey's massage gun.
Oh, who cares?
The destination of Tom Telesco.
Oh, who cares?
Jim Bob Cooter.
Oh, who cares?
Jordan Love.
Oh, who cares?
Tom Brady is a San Francisco 49er.
Oh, who cares?
You look like a marshmallow.
Oh, who cares?
Mason Crosby would never.
Oh, who cares?
Ron DeSantis.
Oh, who cares?
Bill Belichick.
Oh, who cares?
Punting on 4th and 1.
Oh, who cares?
Paris 2024.
Oh, who cares?
Caitlin Clark trucking an Ohio State fan.
Oh, who cares?
Joe Brady's shorts.
Oh, who cares?
Dan Quinn.
Oh, who cares?
Peppa Pig.
Oh, who cares?
Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, who cares?
Snow removal.
Oh, who cares?
Zach Ertz.
Oh, who cares?
Shirtless Kelseys.
Oh, who cares?
The touchback rule.
Oh, who cares?
Ron Rivera.
Oh, who cares?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, who cares?
Diggs is open underneath.
Oh, who cares?
And finally, wide right version 2.0.
Oh, who cares?
Your weekend Francesas. I'm over it, man.
Can I add one?
Go ahead.
And see, you let me know by the sounder if it's Francesa worthy. Sacrifices in the pit.
Oh, who cares?
That's the reason why the Bills lost.
Oh, is that the reason? That's the reason?
Somebody was shooting off fireworks in that direction.
I know a lot of people. Look, it's fun. It's all fun. I saw the thing that crossed my feed yesterday was, and we've seen, this is part of the thing. It's part of the Bills Mafia. The guy jumping into the table and he sets himself on fire, a little too much lighter fluid, and he doesn't really stop, drop, and roll, and he's panicking, and he's on fire. I'm like, why are we trying so hard to kill ourselves? Look where we live. We're already dead.
You okay?
It's a rough weekend, man.
You want to talk? We could take a break here.
Rough weekend.
I know, this is the time of year with the gray skies.
Nope.
The Bills don't have it.
I got outside. I did the driveway twice on Saturday, once on Sunday. Yeah, get some fresh air. Feel pretty good.
Did this all start when you couldn't make it to the Blackhawk game the other night? Although maybe not making it was a favor.
That was frustrating. And you know what? Talking about the weather.
Oh, who cares?
This is what it is. This is what it is. Yeah, I saw the Peppa Pig stuff. I'm like, you know what we're having for dinner tonight, girls?
Pig.
We're having bacon sandwiches. I'm making bacon sandwiches. We're celebrating Peppa Pig. Throw some bacon in the oven and let's have some sandwiches. All right.
Back to Jason Kelsey. What does that say about your fan base? We're like, hey, we just played you in November, but come on over here and drink.
We're celebrity starved, man.
That's it.
We're celebrity starved. And you know, Kelsey, for what it's worth, a man of the people. I mean, I would do the same thing. He's smart. His brand extends beyond Philadelphia, and he knows that he's done. So I better start ingratiating myself with as many fans as possible. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. So that's something you can't say no to. You can't, like, if Jason Kelsey rolls up to your tailgate and he's got the bowling ball shot and he's ready, he asks for it, you give it to him. You can't say no.
Could the Kelseys be bigger than somebody like a McAfee?
Sure.
Why wait?
Well, there are some rumblings.
Travis, look, man, this is it, buddy. What you have found your love. What are you doing?
I want to say it was Michelle Tafoya on CBS Sports Radio over the weekend, making a hit and saying that was a report, a rumor that Kelsey was going to hang it up. Travis Kelsey was going to hang it up after this season.
I learned last night he doesn't talk normally after games, so he did not talk last night. He was just like, "No, I will. I'll talk to you guys midweek." I'm like, okay, maybe doesn't want to answer questions about who was up in the stands,
or didn't want to talk about the report that he's retiring at the end of the season.
That too,
yeah. But look, I'm glad everybody had a good time hanging out with Jason Kelsey. I'm glad your daughter got the chance to see Taylor Swift from a distance. That's all. Ultimately, that's what this should be. It should be fun, right? Some of us, I think, just take it so seriously, and we want so badly, and we're so competitive, and we want so badly for them to do this thing that we think they can do, but they can't do. So all you can really do is enjoy it. All you can really do is be a part of the community and just enjoy it, and just be thankful that you have the opportunity to do this privilege.
But Danger, how many good more looks are they going to have at this? For everybody that wants to see this once in their lifetime. I haven't talked to my father yet, but I know that's going to be like, I want it just once.
He's the poster boy for just one before I die.
Yeah, one before.
Yeah, just one before I die. That's the poster boy right there. Nate Gary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, going to join us next here in the Sports Bar. Nate was taking calls into the wee hours, and God bless him, because some of these callers were unhinged. But we'll get his take. Not just yesterday's game, but what's next for the Buffalo Bills. Always appreciate Nate's insight, and he'll be joining us next here on The Fan. You can join us at 866-4FAN. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 585-866-4326. If you want to pull up a stool, Good Smoke Barbecue hosting their Valentine's Day Sweetheart Deal, 11:30 to 9 p.m. Wednesday, February 14th. The Sweetheart Deal is available for dine-in and takeout minus the champagne. You could treat that special person or persons in your life to a sweetheart of a deal that includes 3 meats, 2 sides, 2 cornbread, complimentary champagne, 2 cupcakes, all for $32.99. Reservations for dine-in highly encouraged. GoodSmokeBBQ.com is where you go to do that. Regular menu also available, and because Valentine's Day happens to fall on Wacky Wing Wednesday this year, buy one, get one dine-in wings also available. Good Smoke Barbecue for Valentine's.
You're listening to the Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Sullen day in Buffalo. Locker clean-out day today. One of those players, soon to be a free agent, wide receiver Gabe Davis.
Yeah, of course, always open to coming back. I mean, this is my first place I've been in for the past 4 years that, I love Buffalo, love everything about it. So, but again, I feel like definitely got to go to March and see, also the other options as well. I feel like that's a business side of it, and I got to take advantage of it.
Final press conference is coming up tomorrow. Sean McDermott at 11 o'clock. General Manager Brandon Beane to speak to reporters at noon. A lot to talk about with Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Lions headed to the NFC Championship game. They bring in tight end Zach Ertz. Sabres hit the road for California. They're in Anaheim tomorrow night. Syracuse basketball still undefeated at home. Tomorrow night taking on NC State. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I love Gabe. I mean, I'm not. That's a little out of my pay grade right there to talk a little bit more about that. But love Gabe. He's a guy that kind of took me under his wing and just made me feel comfortable within being here and getting more of a feel for the game and just kind of leading me and being a really good mentor for me mentally. And I've said this also, like just watching his work ethic, like just the way he works, it's inspiring.
Bright spot for the Buffalo Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir on Gabe Davis, potentially having played his last game in Buffalo. We'll see. We welcome in Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo as well. I mean, we're trying to find pockets of brightness here. I mean, we could talk about guys like Shakir. We could talk about the offensive line, but just this overwhelming, and I was just saying to Gene over the break, like, the thing that's frustrating to me, Nate, is that it's become normalized that the Bills are just going to lose in these heartbreaking ways. When you watch the game and you see the pressure start to mount, you know that they're going to fold, like the tables that get broken at the tailgate.
Yeah, well, afternoon, guys. I was under the impression I was coming on to talk Syracuse basketball, so my apologies. Let me reshift my.
If you'd like, we could talk about why Josh Allen wasn't playing linebacker.
That was fantastic. Let me set this up. I'm driving back, and Nate, it's the final half hour, and who knows how many beers these guys are in. Nate takes a call about the linebacker depth. That's the thing. And, like, this guy goes down well, Nate, you played football in high school, and so did I. And these guys, we played two ways. Why couldn't we put Josh Allen at middle line? Whew. Nate pauses as if to say, I have nothing to say to this. And just realized, I was laughing hysterically. I almost drove off the road. You handled that beautifully.
Yeah, there was a couple of interesting calls. I assumed we had a guy who feed the pit chant. That was a good one. So yeah, there was. Listen, a game like that last night. You guys mentioned the heartbreak aspect of this, right? Doesn't it almost feel like I'm sure I won't be alone, but I'm sure this is not a popular opinion. I'm almost glad that Tyler Bass missed that field goal because I think it saved everyone from the heartbreak that was going to ensue on the next drive when they walked down the field and kicked a game-winning field goal on a walk-off sort of fashion. And maybe at that point, the national narrative on ESPN and Fox Sports isn't, all of Josh Allen's failures, and maybe it's, they can't win one for Josh Allen. But it's almost like I feel a little spared of heartbreak that it was on Tyler Bass and not on the foot of Harrison Butker as time expired, because that feels like maybe that would have hurt more.
Yeah, Nate. I mean, it's essentially, would you rather I rip your heart out with my bare hands or use a knife? Because either way, it's coming out, and that's what happens when the Bills inevitably lose to the Chiefs the way they do in the postseason. I don't even know where to start. I mean, there's so many questions here in the offseason. We could look back at the game, and there's so many things to question about the game. I guess my biggest question is what happened after halftime? Because the Bills felt like they had something going with the physicality in the run game first half. Was it as simple as Spagnuolo made adjustments and Joe Brady didn't match?
I think it's easy to maybe point to that. I haven't had a chance to watch the All-22 yet and really go back and dive in. Listen, I think Joe Brady had a good game plan coming in. I thought they executed very well on the ground. They really dominated the line of scrimmage. And I think what ended up happening for me anyways, if there was a criticism, it became how predictable they started being on offense, and specifically on first down and second and short. And, on second and short, to me, especially with Josh Allen, those are your money downs where it's almost like you're playing with house money. There's an opportunity to take some shots. Now, there were 6 throws that traveled more than 10 yards. Now, that doesn't mean that there were 6 design plays designed to travel more than 10 yards down the field. It doesn't mean that the whole game plan was built around the short passing game and they weren't trying to take shots. But I think, there was something to be said about how good that defense is, particularly their secondary. L'Jarius Sneed is, in my estimation right now, the best cover corner in football. So knowing all of those things, I thought the game plan was pretty self-aware of, all right, we are going to have to play ball control and take the air out of the ball a little bit. But I guess my problem with that, guys, is when is Sean McDermott going to learn? Because that's exactly the game plan that they've lost to this team before. I just think when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, and if your game plan is to basically construct an offensive game plan to keep the opposing quarterback off the field, it's just not a game plan that I want to feel like I have when I've got a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes on the other sidelines. Like, I guess what I want to put in the mind of some Bills fans that really, don't like people criticizing the offensive game plan. And this is all on the defense. And, the defense couldn't make stops and injuries. And true, the defense couldn't make stops. That was an offense on the other side of the ball that has not scored 30 points since week 2 against the Chicago Bears, guys. Like, this was not an offense in the Kansas City Chiefs functioning at a particularly high level going into this game. So, like, the idea that the game plan was the defensive coach, well, actually, we're not going to really worry about playing defense. We're going to have our offense keep the ball away from the other team's offense. I don't know. It goes back to the idea of playing not to lose instead of playing to score as many points as you possibly can. And I do think the game plan worked for a good little while until it didn't. And guys, if they kept with that game plan, they are a McCole Hardman fumble out of the back of the end zone from being down 14 points. And we're maybe talking about a blowout.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, it's easy to say, well, the Bills had a chance to win it at the end of the game. So how bad was the offensive, play calls in the second half? Well, they scored 7 points. Frankly, they probably should have lost by more. And at the end of the day, the offense did not do enough to keep up with a Chiefs team that I thought was playing with their food in the fourth quarter. They wanted to give the Bills an opportunity to win that game, and they almost did. So, yeah, you could point to the missed throw to Stephon Diggs, that he shouldn't have thrown it to, Khalil Shakir in the end zone. But I'll tell you what, if he doesn't get hit by Chris Jones, Kansas City has the ball with a minute 40, 2 timeouts, but they got to score a touchdown to win. I think we might be talking about a different game. So you could point to 1 or 2 plays here, but that's what these games always come down to. 1 or 2 plays here, 1 or 2 plays there, and disappointment once again for Bills fans.
It didn't, in the big scheme because of the Hardman fumble, but is there any explanation that's a good explanation as why Damar Hamlin on 4th and 5? I love the fact that Matt Beauvais in the postgame pressed McDermott on that last, like, what your team needed a spark? That would be like the last idea for a spark. Why not keep number 17 on the field, Nate?
Yeah, and listen, no offense to Damar Hamlin. He's not a guy that you're looking to have the ball in his hands. He's a safety. And I think for me, if you're planning on being aggressive there, which I wanted him to go for it, you don't take Josh Allen off the field. You put the game in the hands of Josh Allen. And I think that's the biggest mistake that Sean McDermott made in this game and has made in these close games that they've lost in the playoffs, is they take the ball out of the hands of Josh Allen. And you think that, to me, the Kansas City Chiefs, if the Kansas City Chiefs were going to lose this game, if they're going to not win a Super Bowl this year, it's not going to be because they take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand. And that's really where I need this franchise to get to, is they need to find an offense and to be honest, additional playmakers that can scale this passing offense. From 2020, 9 300-yard games, including the playoffs in 2020, 8 in 2021, 7 in 2022, 6 in 2023. To me, They are regressing. Their pass game is devolving. It is not evolving. And that's my biggest concern about Joe Brady is, listen, I loved that they developed a conventional run game. I think that was hugely important to the development of this offense moving forward for sustainability and being able to win in December and January. But, guys, it can't come at the behest of their passing offense. They can't. You have to live in a world where you can have both. The Chiefs do. The Ravens do. The Ravens decided they need to get away from an offensive coordinator that really only could run the football and couldn't throw it. Now they have both, and now they're probably on a collision course with the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. So I think for me, you can't – that's my problem right now with the offense is you can't have a de-evolution in their pass game just so you can prop up a run game. To me, that makes no sense with Josh Allen at your quarterback position. And I want to think that anyone else with an elite quarterback, the Burrows, the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, is taking the ball out of those guys' hand is not a winning formula.
How much of that de-evolution offensively is on Stephon Diggs getting older, 1 year at a time?
Listen, he's older. He's not washed. I hated the conversation after the game yesterday on Twitter about this is all on Diggs and he can't get open. That's why they're running all these screen passes with him. And I'm calling BS, guys. Like, go back to the Dolphins game. There's 3 consecutive games Josh Allen missed a wide open Stephon Diggs. I think they're asking him to run different routes. He is an intermediate route running master. And they stopped running intermediate routes with him. It's out routes. It's these like little tiny dump off slot screens. Every game they're trying to manufacture these very basic, unnuanced touches. They're giving them runs, like they're trying to run them because they're like, we don't know how to use them. And that to me is a huge problem because I think that the one thing I'll say about Ken Dorsey is Ken Dorsey knew how to use Stephon Diggs. He was on pace for a career year. Then the offensive coordinator switch happened, and he basically didn't have 100 yards for the rest of the season. I saw a stat by Ian Hartitz today that, and I don't know when this dates back to, but it's yardage, I think, after week 12 or something, and it's Khalil Shakir with 460 and Stephon Diggs with 440, and Diggs had 80 targets. Khalil Shakir had 32. So, to me, guys, this isn't about Diggs not getting open. It's not about Diggs. Yes, he had drops. You know who led the league in drops? Tyreek Hill. So don't give me that it's drops and he can't get open. They didn't use him the way that Ken Dorsey used him. They didn't use him the way that Brian Dable used him. So if I were Diggs, I'd be a little frustrated. But, man, how are you supposed to say anything when you drop that? I mean, that might have been the best deep ball I've ever seen thrown, considering it's fourth quarter, the situation, the down and this, everything. That was an unbelievable throw from Josh Allen, and you need your number one $120 million receiver to come down with that 99.5 out of 100 times. So, I don't believe that Stephon Diggs is washed up and he's getting old and 30 years old. No. I think they need to use him far better, and they need other weapons to step up. They missed Gabe Davis, but they need to be better than what they had in Gabe Davis. I love Khalil Shakir. I love Dalton Kincaid, but they've got some decisions to make on how they're going to make that room better because they need other contributing guys, and they just did not get it in that game.
Nate Gary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You also hear him on WGR, our guest here in the sports bar. So, Nate, final press conference is coming up tomorrow. Sean McDermott 11, and let's be honest, I'm not expecting to get anything newsy out of Sean McDermott, but then Brandon Beane is always good to kind of give you a unique thought or maybe a kind of a nugget tomorrow. What's your expectation, or what would be kind of your line of questioning here for the general manager? Because there's a lot of things here. You've got a lot of free agents. You've got a lot of need. You don't have some areas on this team you really need some depth. So I'm just very curious to hear what Brandon Beane has to say tomorrow.
I mean, I think I'd press these two with the same line of questioning until you get what you want, which is, has this team under this leadership, maybe not Brandon Beane, but this head coach, reached its ceiling? I saw someone. I was more of a blue check Bills fan. Maybe it was somebody from ESPN talking about how this felt like it was the Doug Collins Chicago Bulls. They had the superstars. They had the right pieces. And then it took a change to Phil Jackson for them to go on their NBA titles run. Do I think this Bills team at this point in Josh Allen's career has a 5 Super Bowl run in them? No. But I think they can still win a Super Bowl. They're going to have a lot of hard decisions to make, and those roster and personnel decisions are going to fall on the shoulders of Brandon Beane, and I trust Brandon Beane to make those decisions and get out of this on the other side. But I don't know where I am with Sean McDermott, guys. I like Sean McDermott. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great defensive coach. I think it's fair to ask questions about whether or not he's the coach that's going to get them to a Super Bowl. And I'm out of the mind that he is. They've hit their head. They've maxed out in the AFC Championship game, and they've lost in 3 straight divisional rounds. Guys, if that doesn't warrant questions about whether or not they're going to need to find someone who can get them over that hump, then I don't know what is. I think that's the first and only question I need. I'm going to need real answers from it.
Yeah, Nate. I mean, I think you and I park our cars in the same garage, and that having the conversation about should McDermott be let go is fruitless. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to move on from him. But the idea that he can only take you to a certain point, my worry, my concern, and he did it this year where this was his first time as a defensive play caller, and I thought there were times this season where he coached his ass off, and then I thought there were other times this season where he just was overwhelmed. That it's a hard thing to be the defensive play caller and a leader of men in that locker room. Do you think Sean McDermott gets help this offseason, or do you think this pattern continues?
No, I think Sean proved this year that he could do both. And I think he also proved that he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive play caller in the league. And there's value to that. But, I think for me, does that make him a good head coach? I think that you have to ask yourself the question if you're a Bills fan, you're looking to move on from Sean McDermott. And then after you answer the question, you have to ask yourself whether you care. But I think if Sean McDermott were fired by the Buffalo Bills, he'd walk. He's like Mike Vrabel. He'll have an opportunity to go coach another NFL team in the next week and a half. He will get a head coaching job. And then the question, so now that we've acknowledged that, that's true. He'll get another head coaching job. Someone will hire him. Do you care? Should that play at all into your want or your decision to move on from Sean McDermott? And I'm not sure I do care. I think he's a good coach. I think he has taken this team from being a perennial loser, a perennial laughingstock amongst the league, to a team that consistently wins regular season games and gets to the playoffs and can't get over the hump. And I'm not concerned about the Andy Reids. It's 4 straight NFC championships, and then he won a Super Bowl in Kansas City. I bet Philadelphia wishes they hung on to him. No, they don't. They won a Super Bowl 3 years later. Sometimes, guys, you have to make hard decisions. You have to decide to move on. And I think the core focus of this potential move on, for me anyways, is because you have a couple more seasons of Josh Allen playing at the type of level he's playing at now. You're not going to get a 32-year-old Josh Allen running for 500 yards and 15 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. For me, I think you need one of these offensive gurus, somebody that's going to stick around, or if not a guru, listen, I'd be a Belichick-McDaniel combo. I don't know. Is that the sexiest thing in the world at this point? No. But I need continuity in the offensive coaching room. And I don't think Sean McDermott's going to be able to provide that, because any offensive coordinator that walks in here is going to have a good season with Josh Allen, is going to have interviews and likely leave within a year or two of stepping in. And I think that revolving door at offensive coordinator makes it really hard. That's just the contributing factor to the other things I think are leading me to think like they need to look long and hard. Now, I think this is a dumb conversation to even have, because they're not going to make the move. Sean McDermott wasn't going to be fired after a 6-6 season. If they missed the playoffs, I don't think Sean McDermott would have been fired. So is it even worth having the conversation? To me, no. Should they be having it? Absolutely. But I don't know that it matters, guys.
Yeah, I mean, well, one conversation we can have, because they need to make a decision here. What, depending on who you look at, you're some $40 million over the cap right now, Nate. Does this roster have, to what degree do they have a makeover next year? And should Bills fans maybe bracing for a half step back next year?
Possible. I think that they're going to there's some routes for them to start clearing space. I think they'll start doing it right away. They're going to have to get cleaned up before free agency starts in March, where they're going to want to not necessarily be aggressive, but do what they did this year, which is go out and go get Connor McGovern, who solidified the offensive line. Go out and get some rosterable players like Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield and Leonard Floyd late in the process. They're going to want and be able to do that. Am I concerned about the interim? No. That Brandon Beane has found ways to get creative. There's always money in the banana stand, as my buddy Greg Thompson at Cover One always says. But I also think that they're going to need a little bit of luck. If the league passes down a suspension for Von Miller this offseason, the Bills need to pull the rug on that immediately. It's a free out of that contract. I don't think whether he's out of the woodworks legally or not, I think there's a very good chance that he gets suspended this offseason because, A, he was arrested and he had a arrest warrant issued for him. He was arrested. Yes, the story was recanted, but the legal process had already played out. There is no dropping of charges if the legal process already played out, which I think it did. And Ezekiel Elliott was suspended for less a few years back. So even if he's suspended for 1 or 2 games, that gives the Bills a contractual out of that contract where they do not owe him any of his remaining guaranteed money and no dead cap space. That would be a huge break for the Bills. I think they're going to have to get creative. I think that they're going to have to remake Josh Allen's contract this offseason like the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes last season to offer themselves some more additional room while giving them maybe some more upfront money. Not necessarily a restructure, but maybe a complete remake of that contract. I don't know. They're going to have to probably cut bait and cut ties with Tre'Davious White, which is going to be a tough decision to make. They're probably going to have to do that. I think they're going to have to look really long and hard at trading Dawson Knox this offseason. I loved at times what they were able to do with 2 tight end sets, but I can't be paying $18 million to a guy that gets 1 or 2 targets a game. I can find that anywhere. So I do think there's some tough decisions to make, and those are probably the primary ones. But Brandon Beane is not in an enviable position heading into the offseason, that's for sure.
So, Nate, when we look ahead to April, we can already start to have the conversation of what we think the Bills will do versus what we think the Bills should do. Is it the same thing? What do you think the Bills will do? What do you think the Bills should do when it comes to the draft in April?
Well, I think they could consider trading back in this draft. They've spent the last 2 or 3 drafts trading up. They can't do that this year. They need more players. Brandon Beane has proven that he's a pretty darn good drafter. I mean, getting what they got under Osiris Torrance, you can't be moving second-round picks. They become incredibly valuable. Osiris Torrance, I mean, played every single snap for this team. Is hugely valuable. Is another guy that's helped really solidify the interior of this offensive line. So they need as many first and second round picks as they can get their hands on, but they need to attack the skill position hard. They need to go after at least 1 more wide receiver, probably 2. I'd like for them to spend a first round pick at wide receiver. They're going to have to replace one or both. I think both Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde this offseason. I think you can do that in the draft, get some young players in the first and second round to do that. I think they're going to have to continue adding to the cornerback room. You're going to likely lose Tre'Davious White. Rasul Douglas is a great player, but he's going to be age 32 season next year. And Dane Jackson could potentially walk as well, and you don't know what you got in Kyer Elam. So I think addressing the depth at wide receiver has to be first and foremost what this team does this upcoming draft, and I expect them to do so.
Nate, well, you get a few weeks off. You don't have to be entertaining drunken calls anymore, at least from next few months here from Bills fans. Really appreciate your time today, buddy.
It's bittersweet, man. You know, I said it in the show. It's one of those things people are always like, oh, my God, how do you handle these callers? Doing the postgame is one of my favorite things. It's a little bit of a sounding board for myself, but I like taking phone calls. I like hearing from people, and you know, I like when people kind of feel like they can call me and get my thoughts on kind of what they're feeling to either, you know, confirm or maybe move off of some of the things they're feeling from these games. So I'll miss it and be looking forward to September. But yeah, you know, my eyes are on golf season. There's no doubt about that.
It's bittersweet, man. It's like when you take that ride on the roller coaster and you get off of it and you know that you just had a blast, but you're just a little bit queasy, maybe just a little bit, but you can't wait to get back on it again because it was such an exhilarating ride. I feel like that's what a lot of us are feeling today. That's what I'm feeling today. It's just bittersweet. It's like, oh man, the ride's over and I kind of can't wait to get back on that ride again. And no, we don't take it for granted, the idea that we get to do this for a living, talk about this team. Man, Nate, you do a great job, and thank you so much for the time, man. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, man. These seasons, they go by so quick, and it's, the summers are never long enough, but it's always a pleasure, guys. Look forward to talk to you in the next couple of weeks here as we head into free agency and draft season for sure.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it, buddy. Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. I like the roller coaster analogy. For me, it's the climbing the mountain analogy, because as soon as Bass misses that kick, you do the math, you're like, they're not getting the ball back. Oh my gosh. We're back at St. John Fisher. Oh, we're talking draft. We're doing this. Players are. It's like what it took just to get to that point for this team, and then you got to do it all over again. This is like one of the I don't enjoy doing these shows.
Day after the Bills season ends is terrible. Day after the Super Bowl is terrible too. Day after the Super Bowl is always a rough one for me. Like, oh man, over?
Well, like when we get to the second half of the Super Bowl, like fourth quarter, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't want it to end.
No.
I don't want it to end. Well, great stuff from Nate, as always.
You have the Sabres to... No.
Really?
No.
Yeah, really.
He sat next to Paul Hamilton last night. He's like, well, I'm looking forward to covering some Hammer playoff games. Like, yep. Think we can accommodate you there,
Hopefully.
Paul.
Yeah. All right, we got to get to happy hour next in the sports bar. Hey, look, we've all got a lot of feelings. We're all sorting through our emotions from yesterday. We'd love to hear from you. You can join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. I feel like I want to be more outraged, but I'm just kind of disgusted. I'm disgusted that them losing the way they lost last night has become normalized, and we're immune to it. And, we're almost reserved to the fact that as the tension mounts in a game, you can count on the Buffalo Bills to fall apart. I think that's the only way I can really say if that's how I felt watching the game last night. It's how I kind of feel today. That it's almost become normalized. Like, well, what are you going to do? That's just the way they lose games. That's the way their season always ends. I hate that.
Would you rather had Tyler Bass make the kick and then Patrick Mahomes drive down in a game?
Just the fact that we're having that conversation is maddening. We shouldn't even be thinking that way. We should be thinking, you know what the Bills did? They beat them by 2 scores because they executed. Or they beat them, in the second half. They turned things around. It was a slow start, but they turned it around. And maybe that happens if you connect on one of those long plays. Maybe. I don't know. All right, we got a lot to sort through. We'll get to that along with a round of shots. That's coming up next here on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports Update.
Day with a lot of questions and not many answers in Buffalo today. Locker clean-out day. Painful time for Josh Allen.
You know, this isn't something that we're going to run from. It's not something we're going to hide from. We got to take it on the chin and continue to learn and get better. And I know that it's not what people want to hear. They want to see results. We want to see results. We're just like you guys. We want to win. That's the fact. And we're going to keep fighting and keep working.
Sean McDermott to address reporters one last time of the season, 11 o'clock tomorrow. Brandon Beane, he'll give his year-ending press conference at noon. Detroit Lions, they're headed to the NFC Championship game. They bring in Zach Ertz. Lions and Niners coming up on Sunday. Sabres hitting the road for California. First stop, Anaheim tomorrow night. How about the Syracuse Orange? They're undefeated at home. They take on NC State tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
44-yard attempt from the right hash. Snap by Ferguson, hold by Martin, kick by Bass is on the way, and it is no good. No good, wide to the right, and that'll do it.
This is a heartbreaker in Orchard Park here, Chris. And this one stings. This is back-to-back years in the divisional round. You lose this game at home.
Losing's never fun.
Didn't play the way we needed to, I thought.
Mike Danger.
Is this as far as this coach can take this team? And I think it's a fair question to ask.
Gene Battaglia.
What is it going to take for the Buffalo Bills to get beyond this point? And the excuse is built in. You're down to linebackers 5 and 6. That's going to be the problem. These issues. McDermott, Josh Allen.
4th and 5th corners. Tyler Bass, I hope he's not on the roster next year. There's no hump to get over. There's no hill to get over. You guys got to play well on the day that you play.
So it'll be the Chiefs and the Ravens in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game.
I still do not believe in Baltimore. And I think the Chiefs are not that good either.
Then it's Lions, Niners in Santa Clara for the NFC title.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's happy hour. Oh, not a lot to be happy about if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Appreciate you listening, stopping by. 95.7 FM, AM 950 locally. We're in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can check out our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, where we're streaming live also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, and on Elon's Twitter, X, at The Fan Rochester as well. Plenty of tweets to get to. We appreciate everybody chiming in, and you can jump in as well on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Bills didn't lose this game because Tyler Bass missed a field goal. Let's just get that out of the way. As soon as he lined up for the field goal, they lost the game. What was going to happen after that point? Like, all of our fears about this team all happened in the second half, meaning the injuries. Let's overcompensate on the offense and kind of do some things that we're not really the best at, meaning ball control, 8 possessions. That's all the Bills had last night, 8, season low. But, hey, it's the end of the game, and can we manage this correctly? No, you can't. Specifically, Josh Allen can't, but by extension, maybe that's Sean McDermott not making sure that his quarterback is managing the game correctly. Yeah, we talked about it. Like, the worst-case scenario, you hit Diggs over the middle, and then you're kicking a field goal at the end of regulation, and you're sending it in overtime. You kick the field goal there, Danger, big deal, 143. They're still losing. I don't know if this team actually learned anything how to manage a game here.
Yeah, and there were certainly plays to be made, and you could have milked it a little bit more. Josh was going for the home run ball. He would have hit Shakir if not for Chris Jones getting some pressure and getting Deion Dawkins pushed back into Allen as he's throwing the ball. I guess that's where I wanted to start, because if I'm looking at a positive, a bright side of the Buffalo Bills and the way this roster is constructed, and when you look ahead to what it might look like next year, the offensive line, it's hard to find anything really to complain about offensive line-wise with the Buffalo Bills. You had all 5 guys all season long. Osiris Torrance, a rookie, played every snap for this team. Spencer Brown came into his own. McGovern was a nice free agent signing, and you've got one more year of Mitch Morse in the center, so that's a positive. But when you look at the other side of the ball, and this is the side of the ball that they've paid a lot of attention to, and they've made a lot of investment in, the return on investment on the defensive line, it might be the worst that the league has ever seen. Just evaluate the investments made in that front four. The production can't be viewed as anything but a failure. And I know Ed Oliver had the best season of his career. Greg Rousseau looks like a nice player. Von Miller is nothing more than a hologram at this point. And you saw flashes throughout the year, whether you get an Oliver pressure or an Epineza batted ball. They just need to be better. They were invisible last night. Invisible. Didn't get any pressure on Patrick Mahomes. None. And for this defense, I don't care how many injuries you have, this defense only works if you get pressure on the quarterback.
With four.
And that part of the defense was healthy. What was their excuse?
Well, Von Miller finished the season with 5 tackles.
0 sacks.
5 tackles.
0 sacks.
Okay, yes, he had a few pressures last night. Yay, good for him. We talked to Nate Geary. I mean, it's his base salary next year, $17 million. If there's some way you can move off of that, but it's not like a little rest and more rehab is going to do Von Miller any good. That signing is looking like one of the worst in Bills franchise history. You did it at the time to try to get over the top. It didn't work. And now you're stuck with it. No, this is going to be a different offseason. We were joined by Mike Kennel on a 13 Wham, and it's not just the safeties. It's just not Gabe Davis. You're going to have other areas right now that you're looking. And maybe the answer to that danger is, okay, the defensive line. Well, Leonard Floyd's a free agent. Daquan Jones is a free agent. A.J. Epineza is a free agent. And I just want to caution people because I hear you. Like, okay, Diggs looks like he lost a step or something's off there. You have to start thinking about who's going to be the next number one here in the era of Josh Allen. Shakir, he's really, really good, but I don't know if he's really that true number one. Go draft one. It's not happening, folks. You look at the safety position, you look at the defensive line, and I just rattled off all those names, and who knows about Poyer and Hyde, and who is the head coach on this team? If all things are equal, they're going to go defense in the first round.
Free agents for the Buffalo Bills. Get a load of this list. Gabe Davis, Micah Hyde, Leonard Floyd, Terrell Dodson, Dane Jackson, A.J. Epineza, Taylor Rapp, Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, Linval Joseph, Shaq Lawson, Trent Sherfield, David Edwards, Latavius Murray, Ty Johnson, Damian Harris, Cam Lewis, Kyle Allen. I mean, some of those guys, I get it. Some of those guys are a Francesa. You could go on without them. And
who cares?
Big deal. You're going to have to rebuild your running back room. You're losing all your running backs.
Yeah, or
save for James Cook.
I mean, you can you're not bringing back Latavius Murray, Ty Johnson. Maybe you can bring back real cheap, or maybe you just spend a 7th round pick on a running back like the Chiefs did for Isaiah Pacheco.
Sure,
that's also a novel concept. And we're joined by Nate Geary. Last hour, he's like, "No, this is not the year to trade up. You need depth. Trade back, more picks. Back to Leonard Floyd." I don't fault him. In fact, I appreciate him for saying something like this. He said today he's going to go where the money goes, but he'd prefer to be back in Buffalo.
Of course. I mean, that's every one of these guys. Gabe Davis, you're going to ask him, would you want to come back to Buffalo? Yeah, of course I want to come back. I like it here. I've been here for 4 years, but guess what? If they're willing to pay me more than Buffalo is, yeah, I'm going there. This still, for them, it's still a business. And for as much as they might say they love being here, they don't owe us any obligation. They don't have to give Buffalo a sweetheart deal. Some players might. They might, just out of comfort. You hope that maybe some of these guys come back, but I'm not holding my breath.
No. What didn't help was, Brandon Beane is going to talk tomorrow, and I'm curious to say what I consider him to be a straight shooter. He's amongst any GM in this league. He did not get the back end of the wide receiver core right. Sure, Hardy had a big punt return. Okay. Trent Sherfield, I'm sorry. Like, he's on that list? No. There's got to be some other veteran that's looking to revive their career here. That just seemed like not a good signing last night, and that's what you were kind of down to at that point. And then the Diggs conversation, Danger, that's come up from time to time.
Yeah, I love that we brought that up, and Geary, kind of put it on the change in coordinator as to the decline in Diggs. That one coordinator knew how to use Diggs. The other one wasn't using Diggs the way you would normally use Diggs. The intermediate routes where the guy gets that separation because he's such a precise route runner, and you just weren't seeing Diggs. You were finding Diggs being used in just weird and different ways. And I can't help but wonder how much influence the head coach had on the interim offensive coordinator in terms of how to game plan and call these games with lack of usage for Stephon Diggs.
Well, I'm not going to argue against the diversification because Khalil Shakir has developed here, and so has Dalton Kincaid. And anybody that wants to win a Super Bowl, any team, go back and look at history. If you have like the true alpha male number one wide receiver, no, your Antonio Browns don't win Super Bowls. Marvin Harrison, probably the last guy to actually do that. Diggs is not at that point in his career anymore. And I've wondered out loud, is there an injury that hasn't been disclosed? And kind of when we joined by Catalana earlier, it's like, no, watch the roots. He's running just fine. He's been open. Something is off, and that's going to be a storyline until we get to week one, Danger. What is the chemistry like between Josh Allen and Steph Diggs? Can they get that back? I'm going to tell you something that's not going to happen. He's not going anywhere. He's not getting traded. First of all, $31 million dead cap figure. And a team already with issues, you want to add that on top? Second of all, what are you getting back in return for Diggs? You're not a first, not a second, mid-round pick. Then why bother with that? You're not going to upgrade. So Steph Diggs is still the one. Shakir is your number two. I bet Gabe Davis walks, Danger. Does somebody pay him?
Yeah, I'm not expecting him back.
All right, so then you need a 3, a 4, and a 5.
Yeah, I mean, Shorter's in the mix. You don't know what you have yet in Shorter. He could be something. But again, I'm not going to hold my breath for that, and that's far from a lock, far from a sure thing. And by the way, what makes you believe, short of a guy like Osiris Torrance, that they're going to get a rookie wide receiver and just immediately? It even took Dalton Kincaid. It took a Dawson Knox injury for them to wise up and feed him the ball and realize, oh, yeah, he is a pass catcher that we can trust.
Was that a Dorsey thing? Was it? I don't know, but like that, yes, that's a good thing. It can be done. Rashee Rice, second-round pick. I keep pointing to the Chiefs' danger, and that's part of it too. They draft well, and the margin. We thought the Chiefs were in a down cycle. That's why this one hurt so much last night. You thought finally you get them here. This is the year. This is what it's meant to be, and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, now they're the Patriots.
Well,
that's the team you can't get past.
Can I bring up the conversation that I know a lot of fans want to have, the Sean McDermott conversation, because it's something that we've addressed throughout the course of the season. I remember saying it after the Denver loss earlier this year, and I'll repeat it today. I think Sean McDermott only takes this team so far. Now, we can argue about whether or not this is a conversation even worth having, because Sean McDermott is going to speak to the media tomorrow, and he's not going to say, I've been let go. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to move on from Sean McDermott. So maybe I'm wasting my breath by having this conversation, but I can you be at peace with knowing that this is a team that year in and year out will be competitive, that you won't see them get blown out? There aren't really any one-sided losses that you can point to, that the team will contend for division titles, but eventually just won't get home, that they will falter, they will disappoint, that his defense will bend but not always break. I just, there's so many people that will bring up the Tony Dungy analogy, or Brian, who tweeted us at the fan Rochester, who said, the Warriors replaced Mark Jackson with Steve Kerr. The Yankees replaced Buck Showalter with Joe Torre. Sometimes you bring in the closer. McDermott has to go. He's not going to go, so we can't, that is part of the conversation I want to entertain. But I hear that, and I think, yeah, you should be evaluating. Should always be evaluating. I know Rex Ryan went on ESPN this morning and said that the Bills should have an interest in Bill Belichick.
His quote, he would not be shocked if the Bills made a move for Bill Belichick. Okay. You have to put this in context, folks. This is Rex Ryan taking a little knife and just kind of jabbing it at the guy who took his job. Yeah, I'm the bigger man over here. Rex, shut up. Okay, feel better.
But I do think, like, the exercise of evaluating what you have versus what's out there is a healthy exercise that should be had by every team that isn't playing football right now.
I know. Like, you want Jim Harbaugh in Buffalo?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would sign up for that right now. Yes, I would.
Mike Vrabel.
No.
Belichick.
Yes.
Ben Johnson.
I want winners.
Yeah.
Nah. No, I want winners. I want somebody that has won something. I want winners. But again, fruitless exercise. And when I saw Rex say it this morning, I'm like, yeah, Rex, you never change, pal. Never change. They should evaluate, but who's making that call, Gino? We know who's making that call. It's a guy that we haven't heard from in how many years?
Well, but I'm going to give you this, because something weird happened last year. You'll figure out where I'm going with this. That we never really got an explanation for, where, you lost to Cincinnati, and we were feeling the bad way. And then, all right, the coaching carousel's all kind of complete. Super Bowl's over. We've got free agency coming up in a matter of 3 weeks. What? Wait, Leslie Frazier stepped aside for a year? What in the name? Well, he wasn't Where did that come from? Was that Sean McDermott just one morning waking up, or did that come from the owner? I tend to believe the latter. So, Danger, you don't know, I don't know, no one knows. Because that guy doesn't talk. He hasn't talked in public since 2019. You want a public trust, like the Buffalo Bills, speak once in every 5 years. Could you, Mr. Pegula? Is that crazy?
It's crazy. It is crazy.
Here, take all this money for the stadium, but you don't need to talk to us about your team.
It is crazy. No, that's what he hires Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott to do. That's the one voice mentality. It's fine. Like, I guess things could be a lot worse. The last time I remember hearing from Terry Pegula, it was when things were at a really, really bad place with the Buffalo Bills, right? The I wasn't privy conversation with Doug Whaley. Like that's the most memorable Terry Pegula, public appearance that I can think of.
That, and I don't know how to use a cell phone.
Yeah, I don't really want that. I don't really need that. Yeah, it's okay. Probably best that we don't hear from Terry Pegula. There will be this offseason, though, with those free agents that we mentioned, with $49 million over the cap. Brandon Beane will now show the league what he's made of. You have, Allen, your window to win is there. How much turnover, how much churn is there on this roster? And do they look more talented next year than this year? I have a hard time seeing how they can field a roster more talented than what they had this year, knowing everything that we know.
Yeah, I think that at minimum, you're going to have 4 new defenders, starters on defense. I don't see Micah Hyde coming back. He's a free agent. He's washed. I hate to say that.
Micah Hyde earlier today on his future.
No idea right now. We'll see. Options are open. Love this organization. Love everything that we're able to accomplish. And I woke up this morning and I saw the light. I reflected and I thought about all the memories we've had around here, and we came up short yesterday and all that, but that doesn't take away from all the things that we accomplished over the years, and so I just have no idea what the future holds right now. I'm going to sit down and maybe in a couple weeks or something and talk to the wife and talk to the family, but we'll see. I'm in no rush at all.
If he doesn't play next year, he's on the coaching staff, right?
He can. Yeah, McDermott would have him in some role. That's not a guy that's weighing, hey, should I play in Buffalo or play somewhere else? It's should I play, period.
Yeah.
That's and look, that would be fine for him. He will be on the Wall of Fame, as will Jordan Poyer. Look, Jordan Poyer came up. I didn't think it was a takeaway, but also, sidebar, no one ever complained about officiating because the Bills actually got a break last night on that.
Oh, I saw some complaints about officiating. People were complaining about a hold and a hold here, a hold there. I'm like, you guys are out of your mind. You realize the football gods just gave you a gift, right? That is complete. Like, if the Bills found the way to win that game last night, all anybody would be talking about is that stupid rule.
Or they don't put it in Mecole Hardman and the Chiefs go up by 14. What are we talking about? This is the headline from the New York Post. Not a Disney movie. Bills coach under fire for bizarre Damar Hamlin fake punt call. I'm sorry to laugh. You got to laugh at this. Who would think that's a good idea? Like, I need 5 yards. We're going to catch him off guard. How about a safety who doesn't carry the ball at all? You know what? That would be great theatrics if we got Damar Hamlin the ball.
Yeah, it would have been a great final ending scene for the upcoming Damar Hamlin. Was that the drama major in Sean McDermott coming out? It has to be.
It was such a poorly executed play. You just heard
The Chiefs had 10 on the field.
Yes.
You had an opponent with 10 players on the field. And you, yeah, that was not that was. I mean, did everybody had to have said stupid at the same time? Like, I just when they made that play, that call happens, you see it unfold. I was just right away. I'm just like, stupid call, just stupid, reckless, dumb. What are you doing, man?
You're gonna go for it? Then you trust 17 offense to go for it.
Yeah, I think you have a better chance, a higher probability, regardless of where you are on the field, of converting that 4th and 5. Just terrible. Well, a maddening end of the season. It was an up and down season, man, and there were some accomplishments, and I think for them to find themselves in the position that they were in is an accomplishment. And we're not piling on Sean McDermott. I'm not going to pile on Sean McDermott. There were moments this season where you looked at me like, this dude is coaching his ass off.
Well,
but this is as far as it can go, I think, with this guy.
Yeah. It's not an excuse, but it's notable. Like, you had Tyler Matakevich, a middle linebacker, at one point with Dorian Williams last night. Danger. What do you like? You could point to Brandon Beane. Like, this is his roster, the back end, and these core special teamers, get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. Get rid of the special teams coordinator, Matthew Smiley. I don't care what military background you had. Just get somebody in there that cannot screw it up. And for Tyler Bass, by the way, there's like another separate storyline right now that he deactivated his social media accounts because he's getting threats or whatever online.
You hate that. I also have seen people say, let's find out what Tyler Bass's charity of choice is so that we can show the world that that's not what we're about, which would be right in line for Bills Mafia. That would be very on brand for Bills Mafia. Tyler Bass didn't lose that game. Hey, look, been saying it all afternoon. If Bass hits that field goal, really the question becomes, would you rather I rip your heart out with my bare hands or with a knife?
No, the funny thing is, like, if Bass hits the field goal and Mahomes drives down, everybody would have been shrugging their shoulders. Well, what are you going to do? It was just it's not meant to be. No, you manage the end of the game so that way you're milking the clock all the way down.
Right.
And if the quarterback doesn't understand, then the head coach has to get in the headset of Josh Allen and explain that to him. Larry in Penfield. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Larry.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
We're hanging in there just like you.
Yeah, I hear you. So I'm on the fire McDermott bandwagon, and not because he's done a terrible job, but I'm with you all along. I just don't think I think he's taking you as far as he can take you, and that's that. Here's my big problem about not firing him. I want him gone this year because there's probably not going to be two great coaches like a Bill Belichick and like a Harbaugh in next year's coaching carousel. Those guys have one of them has won Super Bowls. One of them has been to a Super Bowl. One of them is a quarterback whisperer. I mean, so we keep McDermott for one more year. Is he on the hot seat? I mean, are we going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers and be happy with making it to the playoffs for 10 years in a row and then getting bounced, in the first or second round? Are we going to be happy with that as an organization, or do we want to win? because that's where we're headed to. We're headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers having a winning record every year and making it to the playoffs, but getting bounced. Gene, you're totally right. You got to get over that level. And I don't know if he's going to get us over that level, but I think a Jim Harbaugh could, a fresh face, a guy who's hungry and a guy who, wants to win. And another thing about that game on Sunday, that fake punt, I felt that Buffalo had all the momentum going in that game until after that fake punt. And it just felt like everything turned and we lost all the momentum. The air went out of our sails after that terrible call for their fake punt. If you want to go for it on fourth and 5, that's fine. Leave Josh Allen out there. That guy can run the ball for 4th and 5. That guy can throw the ball on 4th and 5. That guy can get you a first down. The Bills are not a trickery type of team. Put Josh Allen out there and say, you know what? Stop me if you can. We're going to go for it. I could swallow that and I can handle that. But that stupid trickery play looked like they haven't even practiced it. Looked like they just drew it up on a chalkboard on the sideline and said, we're going to try it.
All right, Damar, it's your time. It's your time to shine,
Damar.
buddy. This is the ending. This is the closing scene of your movie, pal. Get us 5 yards, buddy. You can do it. Yeah, it's like a Disney movie. Great job, Larry.
I've seen this meme too. It'll come across your feed. Like that play kind of reminds you of when we get to spring practices in college football and, oh, wait a second, here's the kid on the field. We've got to kind of get him the ball here. Like
the electricity in that stadium, if they would have trotted out Josh Allen, even if it was to try and draw him off sides, it would. I mean, to his point, you could feel it. You could feel a stadium get deflated when you made that call and just botched it.
The Chiefs had the goal to go. Like from the Chiefs standpoint, what are you doing sending over Mecole Hardman? That's it.
Yeah.
That's if they go down by 2 scores. Yeah, McDermott is on that. In your analogy for the Steelers, I'll listen to that. The comp in my mind is Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio lasted in Jacksonville 8 years without getting to a Super Bowl. This for Sean McDermott next season, 2024. That's year number 8. Are you heading for Marvin Lewis territory? Like, at what point does this end? Like, how long does a coach stay if you can't get to that point?
It's a great question. And we're probably going to find out. We're just going to find out what our threshold for pain is over the course of the next season and a half, 2 seasons, because I don't know that anything changes. Round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, some of the stories we haven't gotten to here, as we'll talk a little hockey. Corey Perry back in the league. That's kind of interesting.
Watch out, moms.
How about it? Do we know that happened?
Do we know?
We don't know.
We don't know. I'm just saying, watch out, moms.
Watch out, moms.
Corey B might have a thing for moms.
Look, he's of that age, right? I guess.
Go cougar hunting.
Yeah. Something happened in golf, and it hasn't happened since 1991. And yes, we have a couple of baseball notes here.
Oh, good. All right, very good. We'll get to a round of shots next. Last call before 6 o'clock as well. Like Larry from Penfield, you can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN. 866-4326.
You're listening to Sports Update.
Sullen day in Buffalo, a day we're becoming too familiar with. Locker clean-out day. One of those players, soon to be a free agent, that's wide receiver Gabe Davis.
Yeah, of course, always open to coming back. I mean, this is my first place I've been for the past 4 years that, I love Buffalo, love everything about it. So, but again, I feel like definitely got to go to March and see, also the other options as well. I feel like that's a business side of it, and I got to take advantage of it.
Sean McDermott's going to address reporters one last time at 11 o'clock, and then the season-ending press conference from General Manager Brandon Beane. It's at noon tomorrow. The Detroit Lions are headed to the NFC Championship game. The Lions bringing in tight end Zach Ertz today. Sabres hit the road. First stop, Anaheim tomorrow night. Syracuse basketball tomorrow night, taking on NC State. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
This isn't something that we're going to run from. It's not something we're going to hide from. We got to take it on the chin and continue to learn and get better. And I know that it's not what people want to hear. They want to see results. We want to see results. We're just like you guys. We want to win. That's the fact. And we're going to keep fighting and keep working.
Is Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Locker clean-out day. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. And what do we have now? Now that this is over with, what's left? Don't tell me Sabres hockey.
Oh, Senior Bowl next week.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, NFL draft talk.
Okay, all right.
I don't... Not putting on Jay Binkley.
No, good. Thank you.
No, we're done with Chiefs talk.
Good.
Not doing that at all.
Oh, who cares?
So much for UPL's scoreless streak.
Who cares?
Kids' Day in Buffalo, so everyone go home unhappy.
Yeah.
Tampa winning 3-1. Tomorrow night, Anaheim first stop. Goalie switch happened over the weekend, in case you missed it. With the need to get Devin Levi more work, Eric Comrie goes back up. Levi comes down, and he have to do much. 14 saves in his first home game. The Amerks thumping Springfield 7-3. Lucas Rushak now with 13 straight games with a point. A few more days off here. Utica coming to town Friday night. We'll talk to Amerks head coach Seth Appert tomorrow on the Sports Bar.
Low win streak for the Amerks right now. Like to see that.
Yeah, it's okay. We can. This will be good. Try to. It's our methadone here, Rochester Americans hockey.
Give us something.
Yeah, Corey Perry is going to get another chance. Perry will sign for the league minimum with Edmonton. Won a cup with Anaheim back in 2007. Edmonton right now third of the Pacific. Now, we're not entirely sure how Perry left Chicago.
Yeah.
A lot of rumors as to why the Blackhawks cut him.
So we can say what the rumor is.
It's a rumor.
It's a rumor. It was a rumor that was reported by TMZ. The rumor was that what got him out of Chicago, what got him ousted out of Chicago was Corey Perry had relations with Connor Bedard's mom. Now, that's the rumor.
When Perry put out the statement, it was something about controlling his alcohol intake and blah, 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 which who knows?
Okay. So maybe he gets sauced, goes cougar hunting, and just so happens to find Connor Bedard's mom in his scope, and he fires his shot. That got him bounced out of Chicago. Allegedly, the rumor.
Is Syracuse basketball a bubble team? Because Pitt upset Duke over the weekend. The win at Pitt now apparently counts as a quadrant one. Now, in terms of net rankings, Syracuse ranks 69th in the country.
Nice!
Mike Danger, always 18 years old. Quadir Copeland had the buzzer beater. The Orange beating Miami at the Dome Saturday. Syracuse remaining undefeated on the season. Florida State coming to the Dome tomorrow night.
If executing a 69 joke is wrong, I don't want to be right. And I'm almost 50 years old. If I haven't grown up at this point, Gino, it's never going to happen, pal. You're stuck with me.
No, you're this way forever. First time since 1991 we had an amateur win on the PGA Tour. Nick Dunlap, the reigning U.S. amateur champ, he's on the Alabama golf team. The 20-year-old was able to outlast Justin Thomas and others on Sunday to win at La Quinta. Now, the bad news... Sorry, you're an amateur. Dunlap does not get the $1.5 million prize. That goes up to the runner-up, some guy named Christian Bezin out.
So Torrey Pines this weekend, is that it?
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll break the seal. I didn't watch any of the Hawaii golf. I know that you keep telling me, hey man, that'd be good for you. That'd be good for you because it'll get you out of your seasonal thing.
That's good for anybody.
It doesn't work for me that way, but maybe Torrey Pines can do that for me. Torrey Pines always feels like a fun tournament to watch.
The Houston Astros forfeited their bullpen lending. Fortified. Long night, folks.
What'd they do?
They fortified their bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
Landing reliever Josh Hader, 5 years, $95 million. Now, the market's been a little slow for pitching in general. Take, for example, Blake Snell, pitcher many regard as the top one in the market. He has only one offer so far. Mark Feinstein of MLB.com reporting that Snell turned down a 6-year, $150 million deal from the Yankees. Now, Snell is 31. It's always a little risky to go offer a pitcher big money when they're over 30.
How many days till pitchers and catchers?
22.
22 days. Okay.
I'm ready.
I know you are.
I'm ready.
I know you are.
Baseball writers ready. We're gonna have the Hall of Fame announcement coming up.
Boy, baseball writers just licking his chops. He's wringing his hands, the gnashing of teeth. He can't wait to flex his authority and rain thunder down from high atop Mount Pius.
Yes, because we are the keepers of society.
Yes.
Finally, the Oakland A's, they're in need of a temporary home this year. Well, they're going to be in Oakland. That much we do know. They're in the last year of their lease agreement. But then after that, they haven't even broke ground on that new stadium in Vegas. A's officials visiting Salt Lake City as a new 7,500-seat ballpark could be their home. Other venues being considered Sacramento, Reno, Nevada, and time-sharing with the San Francisco Giants. Come on, Dan Mason, get on the phone. The Rochester A's in 2025.
Just have Major League team going on tour. They might as well be the Savannah Bananas or the Harlem Globetrotters. Just whatever. Just play wherever you want. We won't call it a home game. We'll just call it an exhibition. But the games will count on your regular season record. What a mess. What an absolute mess. They haven't even broken ground yet on a new stadium in Vegas. But the A's looking for a home. Yeah. You know what? I've never been to Reno. I had connections in Sacramento, never visited. I hear Reno is nice, though. No?
It's a AAA part. Like when you're talking about Reno, then why not? I'd say Rochester. Why not Buffalo? Why not because of the time difference, I suppose. They're just a mess. Not thought out at well. Back to the Bills talk we go. We got last call coming up, but Luis has been from Pittsburgh has been patient. Luis, is it?
Yeah, Luis.
Luis, how are you, bud?
What up, bud?
Well, I'm pretty, down big. But regarding Danger's point, you bring Harbaugh. Do you think it's a situation similar to, remember the Titans, where they bring a new coach, a head coach, but they keep the people they had over there already. But I know NFL is it's a business, so I'm not sure that a guy like McDermott will just, I'll sit around and let you guys do your thing.
No. I mean, Luis, what you're describing goes hand in hand with what I think Sean McDermott wanted out of yesterday's trick play. This will be a storybook ending for Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin will get us 5 yards, and what a spark. Oh, my God. Could you imagine? That would be a movie. It's the drama major in him coming out.
You're hiring a head coach. That head coach has to hire their people.
Yeah.
So understand that you want Bill Belichick. Guess what? Joe Brady did a good job. Adios. Josh McDaniels, your new offensive coordinator.
Sure.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I do look at what's going on, though, and seeing Harbaugh take another interview with the Chargers, seeing Belichick get his second interview with the Falcons, seeing Ron Rivera now with the Eagles, talking to the Eagles about being their defensive coordinator. Don't know where Vrabel is going to go. You're not going to have many opportunities, many off seasons where you've got this rich a head coaching market. This might be as good as it gets the next 5-10 years. Who knows? Pretty ridiculous. Every team should evaluate, but not every team will. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills will. I would take Harbaugh in a second. In a second.
If Harbaugh went to Penn State.
Yeah, right. All right, let's get the last call at 866-4326. The most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. We go to the phones. And we close up shop, let you know about tomorrow afternoon show that we've got lined up for you here on the Fan Rochester. Again, 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the The Fan, Rochester.
If you've always believed, hopefully we've given you a reason to believe just a little bit more. From where we were at, from where we started, from where we hit a low, and from how we finished, hopefully you're still believing, because we believe in you guys as much as y'all believe in us. And the way that y'all came like to that stadium yesterday, it was amazing. So, it's Bills. It's Bills Mafia here, so love you guys.
Look, Deion Dawkins, I love the spirit of what he's trying to say there. But belief. What belief can you possibly have given how it's ended all of these years?
A little bit of breaking news here in the sports bar.
Is it worthy or is it not worthy?
I think so, because this is the first step that...
It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
We're talking about vacancies. We're talking about the Falcons. We're talking about the Chargers. We don't talk about Carolina as much. Well, step number one, they hired a GM, a guy with Bills ties, Dan Morgan, now president of football ops and the GM.
Oh, no kidding. Well, He was there, wasn't he?
He was there, and then he worked under Bean. And I think he was out in Seattle, too, at one point. So he's got
Carolina roots. He played there.
He played there. Yeah. He's also from the U. So
I think the guy that they're going to hire, and I have nothing to back this other than when I saw that they're interviewing him, and I think he's going in for his second interview.
Dan Quinn?
No, Canales, Tampa's offensive coordinator. Because you need somebody in there that can get something out of...
You have to. Yeah.
Right.
You can't,
to see Canales do what he did with Baker Mayfield and the reclamation project that is Baker Mayfield, it's pretty impressive. That's the guy that if I'm Carolina, that's who I'm hoping they get, if I'm a Panther fan. But everything's okay in Chicago. Don't worry. We got Shane Waldron as the new offensive coordinator. I'm sure he'll get the most out of whoever the quarterback is next year. And I love how... we'll hear from Sean McDermott tomorrow. We're not hearing from Nick Sirianni until Wednesday.
What?
Their season was well over a week ago now, and we're going to hear from him on Wednesday. Matt Patricia out, and Ron Rivera interviewing to be the defensive coordinator there in Philadelphia. Okay.
Well, I think Brandon Beane likes to get out of the way because he's heading to Mobile. That's his kind of element, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going down there and scouting, so he'll be on the road.
Well, plus he can just avoid all of his responsibilities at home. If the wife wants you to go pick up some prescription at CVS, I'm in Mobile. I'm in Alabama. Tomorrow we'll talk some more Buffalo Bills with Matt Perino, who covers the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast as well. And we're going to check in on the Rochester Americans on a little bit of a win streak here. Head coach Seth Appert stops by the sports bar at 4:25 tomorrow afternoon. Appreciate you listening this afternoon. If you missed Nate Gary or Mike Catalana, find us wherever you get your shows. Search out the Sports Bar in the free-to-download Odyssey app.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
When something happens to your car, you might say,
My car.
but what you really